Hello, hello. What is up, everybody? There's a high energy start for you. That's all you get. That's all I'm doing. Cutting some tape, having a good time. Happy Wednesday / Thursday to everybody on planet Earth that has joined us for today's podcast with Ronaldo Student Press. Oh, man. Put some tape away. All right. How's everybody doing? It is dry, cold, and gray in Portland, but we're here. So welcome. I hope everybody's having a good one. Thank you for hanging out today. What do we got? Mr. Gone Fishing 8373 says, "Hey Ronaldo, how you doing?" I'm all right, brother. David, guten Nacht. Hello, Michael. Hello, everybody from Detmold, Germany. LZ Scale Modeling. Hey, Master, ready for another session of OPR Weathering? We are. Today, we're going to be singular. We're going to be doing the Big Bang Theory. One small point that explodes into this beautiful thing. That's all we're doing. One thing. Got one job today. I got one job. Dave Lacombe, how are you, my friend? Good to see you. In fact, I've handled your particular case today for you, so that's on the way. Arnell, there you are, bud. How are you? San Jose? Yeah? Okay. Good afternoon, good morning, evening, fellow RSPers. Timothy Wood, hello, my friend. How are you? Good afternoon. Tim, where are you at again? I keep forgetting where your location is. I'm trying to be really good with everybody's name and city because I want to embrace the internationalness of everything happening because I think that's pretty cool. Kyle Hilliam, how are you? You're New Zealand, I believe. Good morning. Yep. Tuning in, putting on the new bench, home office desk together after moving. There you go. That's always good. Mr. Gillis, how are you, my friend? You're still rocking the cowboy logo, so you're still a diehard. I appreciate that. I have respect for anybody that sticks with it, good or bad or ugly. I'm in the same boat with you. I don't think any of our teams, anybody's teams, did what we thought they would do at the end. Yeah. What do we get? Who's it? Was Cincy, LA? That's right. That's right. For those of you not paying attention to the National Football League and are sidetracked with Olympics or whatever, we have a big or the final game of the year is Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday. Feeling your pain, Kyle. That's good pain though, Dave. That's I always like when I moved in here into this office a year ago. I remember putting this studio together in just that feeling of positivity and like you're like, F yeah, I can't wait to get going on this stuff because it's a whole new, I'm a fan of when things are like new surroundings and like I'm the kind of guy that will change my decor, relatively often, even though I haven't much. This is pretty locked in. I like this setup actually. This is my favorite so far. Eric Wester, how are you? Good evening, Mike, and all of you in the chat. Looking forward again. Same here. Steven, how are you, Steven? How's it going over there? UK, right? I believe. Bryce, what's up? How are you, man? Long time no see. Yeah, we all need more storage. Hello, Jimmy Jammers. What's up, Joe? And those of you in chat, I'm throwing you some love because one, you've been an ardent supporter, but two, Joe's 48 scale to me, a birdcage Corsair. If you're not familiar with Joe's page, you're welcome to put it in there, Joe, if you want. His Instagram, he's sharing his birdcage. He's in the chipping phase of a 1942 Pacific War weathered Corsair, F4U birdcage Corsair, and he's doing a great job. Just want to throw you some love because he's supportive, but the work is genuinely outstanding. Very proud of you, Joe. You're doing great stuff, man. David, to gather more space, throw the box away. Absolutely. I'm a big fan of that too. I often consolidate sprues. I'll consolidate sprues and certain kits that I know I'm going to be working on into package boxes and keep, like, I'm not a guy that keeps all my boxes and everything for the kit. I'm over that. If I do that, I would actually say too, I had a buddy that did this in terms of kit storage and compaction. Because some of them do really nice jobs, like a Ron Volstad is, I would cut out real nice the box top and then either for mounting or framing, and then you can consolidate the kits down. That's pretty common. Hello, Brent. How are you? 2FS says hello. He's in from the UK. Nog, there he is. There's my other Kiwi. Very hot and humid New Zealand today. Okay, well, you're probably approaching real summertime then, aren't you? And I do know my California peeps, SoCal, they're about to get a massive heat wave, which is weird for this, even for this time of year. Like 90-degree Fahrenheit heat, something like that. Put chapstick on, I'm all parched. Taklon SB, good evening, good morning. Greetings from Romania. Were you the same Romanian from previous Nico? I'm just going to call you Nico, if that's okay. We had some other Romanians in chat as well, plus some Russians and Polish. I'm trying to think of some of the more Eastern European countries that we've had participate. Frederic, hello, bonsoir, mon ami. Steve Jones, hi, Mike, everyone around the world. Good evening, Mike, and everyone. Hope all are well. Yep. Need more space in the board. Yes, I was sent the link of that preview video of the border model Lancaster, and I think the box. So this is a 4-foot table that I'm on, which is like 1.25 meters or something like that. So the box was a meter, right? It's the whole thing. Yeah, that's a lifer project. That's if you like. I tell you what, if I get sent to jail, because that could happen, because I'm about to commit some criminal activities the last couple of weeks with some people who weren't doing their business for me. We'll get into that shortly. But if I had to, I would at least like to go to a facility that if you can send me a border model Lancaster, like to build for my term in service at the prison, that would be the perfect prison model. Of just like work on a Lancaster for the next 10 years, because it's going to take you 3 to 5 years, the Dave Parker way, if you will, so to speak, if that's a thing. I was joking with my buddy. I texted him. I go, Edward needs to do like a weekend edition of the border model Lancaster, which I thought was kind of funny, because as you know, that's not possible. But Nero, ciao. How are you? How is Italy treating you today, my friend? Robert Perlman, happy Wednesday from Gray, Vancouver. Yes, we are. We've got the tail end of your system, Mr. Perlman. But how is Vancouver up there? Now, funny enough, because I almost said it, we have Vancouver, Washington, 15 minutes north of me, just over that shoulder, whatever shoulder, north that way is Vancouver, Washington, and then Vancouver, then Seattle, then Vancouver, British Columbia. And we always call it the Couve. And I almost said, hey, how's the Couve today? But you're not the Couve. You're a much nicer, well, not to bag on my Washington friends, but they know what I mean by that. It's said with affection. How's it from South Africa? Hello, El. How are you, brother? Christian, hello. Speaking of, and Privet, Drugo, Nikolai, how are you? Glad to see you online. Same here. Glad to see you too, my friend. I'm actually in the rotation of the t-shirts, Nikolai, next week. I'm going to do a special episode 50. I'll be wearing the Sons of Rinaldi shirt. So tell your club and everything. And if they can swing by next week, we'll do a little special episode 50 stuff. And Mr. Steven Zarzecki, thank you, sir. What's up, dude? How are you? Good to see you smiling. Yep, trying to. You guys have helped. I've had some help in the smile department. Mikel Perez, hello. Timothy in Maine. That's right. Okay, I knew that. I knew we talked about that. Marino, hello, brother. How are you, man? MGK, hello, everyone. I like that. MGK, short and sweet. Every time I see MGK, I always think of NGK spark plugs, by the way. So just so you know. Yes, sir. Silicon Valley. Yep. Peterson, I'm hoping that Cyrillic is a hello, nothing in spam. Yeah. Kyle's same feeling of positivity. Yeah, no, I think setting up a new studio is always a good thing for hobby guys like us. Nat58 says hello, and everyone in chat. He says, hit that like button, Jimmy Jammers. Please do. Yeah, please do your YouTube chores as a viewer. Hit the like button. And if you're not subscribed as yet, obviously, as you guys probably well know, subscriptions really help a lot for channel growth. We've kind of plateaued on channel growth. So my resolutions for 2022 is really promotion, but I haven't had a chance the last couple of weeks. But you've seen some stuff today, and we'll get into it shortly. I'll bring everybody up to speed on. There's a couple major topics today before we launch into OPR. Is Patreon, big news for Patreon. Second big news is shipping updates. Third is just the general printing update, and then I think that's about it. I've tried to trim the fat this time. We're going to get right to the point. And Vivian's a sunny 55 in Virginia. All right, nice. Looking for the tracks for question L. I'm leaving. Come back later. You got it, Bryce. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Beach day tomorrow. Who's going to the beach? What? G? Oh yeah, whatever, dude. My boy in Pasadena. It's like going to the beach. Have you been to the beach in LA? So this is funny, G. Being from Los Angeles, we always called it the beach. When you're from Portland, you always call it the coast. So now I have to remember, like when translating foreign languages in your head, is I'm talking to an LA guy now. So you're going to the beach. Which beach are you going to visit? Santa Monica, Huntington, Newport? or in Portland, we say you going to the coast, you going to Seaside or Astoria or whatever. So yeah, that's a thing. If Rick rolls through, he'll confirm. My Oregonians will confirm. But see you later, Bryce. Thanks again. Question. So looking for tracks for oh, you asked last week. I think I forgot to answer you. I don't mind the material. Something decent for the price. Okay, so I think I started to answer you last week. Apologize. You are in that question. There is probably the easiest one to answer for any tank track question available. Panzer III chassis, Panzer IV chassis, early war. There's a lot of options. My personal preference is full model, but there's Master Club. There's plastic tracks and resin tracks from companies like T-Rex. I'll let guys in chat answer other ones that they like. There's I think Tamiya makes their own plastic tracks, Link and Link. There's detailed ones from like T-Rex. They're a little bit more complicated. There is residual Dragon styrene and or the Dragon Link tracks. I forget the Magic tracks. You might be able to buy some from. I personally, if I was going on the cheap, like if I had like 10 or 15 bucks for tracks to add to a Tamiya to get rid of the vinyl, I might bump around the sales forum and ask for if anybody's got some Magic tracks from their early Panzer III chassis kits, because it'll fit any StuG III, any Panzer III, and then any Panzer IV has more than enough to give you additional spares for heavy armor if you need extra track armor like this. But my personal preference is full model. You can go on eBay and you should be able to pick up a set of early, because they're the small lightweight ones. You'd be around 35 US. It used to be. I haven't looked in a minute. 35. Some give free shipping for like between $35 to $40 for a set of metal, and probably 25 to 35 for the plastic, resin / 3D printed / whoever. And then you might be able to get somebody will help you out. But that's the easiest one, L. It's StuG III, Panzer III, hyper common. Everybody makes them. So it's just whatever you're, you might want to get a couple just to see which way you like to go for future modeling. If you prefer, say, a Master Club style with the little resin pins, or a full model style where you make the pins, or a resin set that you clip together, or I don't know if T-Rex is resin, but I haven't looked at the track sets. I think they're injected after the fact, aren't they, guys? I don't have my T-Rex set in front of me. I should grab it, but yeah, you're gonna want a 40 centimeter track. The Bs all use the 40 centimeter track, and I do believe solid guide horns, which is what this is. So this is the winter version of what you're talking about. This is a B, and that's a solid guide horn. These are Winterketten, which was the first version of the German winter tracks introduced in Barbarossa in the Russian campaign when they invaded Russia in 41. So yeah, that's the basic breakdown. In fact, this one here is a full model. This would be appropriate. This would be a Panzer III style track, but this is a later version which had an open guide horn. There's multiple variations of it. Most StuGs will run a solid guide horn track, the B model, to answer L. A subject I actually know something about without having to study too much. Pete Tui, you're always multitasking, my friends, and I hope you're multitasking in a good way. Here in Yakima, it's cold but sunny, almost barbecue weather. All right, Dave, nice. Yeah, so you guys are you're probably a little bit more stout than I am, Dave. I'm a SoCal boy, so I get a little. I'm thin-skinned with the cold weather. It's not too bad. It's like 50 today. It's not too bad today. I would like the barbecue. Michael Koff, hello, good afternoon, sir. How are you? Peter Stackless is popping in for lunch. Love the aircraft stream. Ready for some tank type 2. Yes, we'll touch a little bit on the P61. It's right in front of me over there. We'll touch about that. MGK Underground Kings, long live Pimp C, rest in peace. Sorry, man, old school rep. You got it, Corey. What's up, man? How are you? Project Simus, Florida. Hello, this is Glenn. Oh, Glenn Bartolotti. How are you, brother? Good to see you. It's been a long time, Glenn. Your name, if you guys don't know Glenn Bartolotti, am I saying that correct? Bartolotti? Yeah, I believe I'm saying that correct. I don't know if it's Bartolotti or Bartolotti. I believe it's Bartolotti. Been around a long time. Do a little more armor stuff in the winter here in Florida. Okay, nice. Yeah. Are you still pretty active, Glenn? I mean, I haven't been active on the forums in a long time, but I do remember your builds quite often. You were very prolific back in the day. A lot of conversions and stuff like that. Eric, what's your extra Patreon tutorial on the colors? Yep, absolutely. We will talk. Give me a few more minutes. We're only 15 in, about another 5 of greetings. And then we'll get to the news. In particular, I'll talk a bit today about Patreon, what I'm doing, what I've done, and where we're going to go with it. So good stuff there. Huntington Beach as usual. Yep, absolutely. Huntington Beach was. I always went stateside on Huntington. Was my thing. mostly because I think state allows the dogs, I think, right? And city side doesn't. I forget. It's been a minute. If you go down to Huntington, do yourself a favor, drive through Seal Beach first, one down, and then go down Main Street. I think it's still there, but go down Main Street in Seal Beach and hit Nick's, NIC''S, and order their standard breakfast burrito with no chorizo and extra salsa. It'll be the best breakfast burrito you've ever had. And I say that unequivocally. I will argue that point to death. Those of you that have listened to me in the years, if nobody here has, but in my regular life, they have. Nick's Burrito in Seal Beach. First off, it's the best hangover cure on planet Earth. Second of all, it's literally the best. And people will fight breakfast burritos. I respect that. This one's in contention and should be worthy of it. It's worth the trip if you're going to Huntington from Pasadena to hit Seal Beach and do that. Should still be down there. I've not talked to anybody in a minute, but I've got some friends that still live there and had one a year or two ago and said they were still there. Where do you get the tan paper towels? Walmart and Target did not have them in California. Go to these are Peter. These are the company's called 7th generation or 3rd generation. 7th generation. 7th generation. You can order them on Amazon. So if you're in the States, which I think you are, you'll be fine. I think I got a 6-pack for $30 shipped, which is a little pricey, but I mean, it's 6 rolls. I'm like 2 rolls in like 6 months for this work. But also, if you can't, in the meantime, Peter, and I know you guys can find this too in the automotive section, Walmart, Target, your local box grocery store, whatever. In the automotive section, the blue ones will work too. I think some of you guys have been using the blue. You just need a color. You need something to just see the moisture content, and the white paper towels don't show that to you. Yeah, we'll talk. We'll go over that again when we get to the painting here in a second. I'm going to the creek. To the creek. From Salem, KX4 Gaming and Models. Hello, brother. How is Salem, Oregon today? The capital of the state. Mini Art and RKM2, Peter. What do you P2E? What are you talking about? Multitasking from DC. Yep. Nice. Model casting, David says, there another excellent model casting tracks. I'm not sure what the state is. I think L's. Did you say where are you from? Sorry, L. Did you say you're not from the US? I believe. I apologize. South Africa. So in South Africa, L, you may have some difficulty trying to find some of these brands. For example, model casting out of Japan can be difficult. I tend to use eBay for most of those things, and it's pretty global. So that should be okay. Model casting and Kaizen tracks are good too. The price is really good. Phil Bonafini, how are you, man? How are you, Phil? Try office stores, steal a bunch for the restaurant. Exactly. If you just have a stack and napkins, paper napkins, it's just something to show color, or for the brushes when we do the moisture. Like as long as it's not white, it'll work. I just happen to have, but also you can search unbleached paper towels. That also pops up. Nico, I'm good with Nico. I'm planning on becoming a regular, but that must have been another Eastern European fan. Okay. Well, hey, more Romanians, the better. I mentioned last time I worked with a bunch of Romanians, immigrants in the United States that were graphic designers. And I learned a lot of my early graphic design training from Sergio and Michaela, who were from Romania. Really nice. Got a bit of introduction to the culture and stuff like that too, which is pretty cool. Master Club, sometimes a lot of flashing, a lot of cleanup. Yeah, and some of these will. And some of these, anything aftermarket, you might have a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Yeah, Dave Lacombe saying ATL number 5. There you go. That's probably the main one for early 3s. As long as it's the 40 centimeter one, you're fine. You'll be okay. Marino, Toronto is nicer today. Toronto is nicer than where, or nicer than yesterday? Marino. Rollout Commanders. What's up, brother? How is Switzerland? I believe you're in Switzerland. Illinois. Well, Illinois. They're in the crick. 40 today and 12 tomorrow. Well, that's a break. Just post on Facebook and your thing. Okay, sweet. Warren Star. Hello, Warren. How are you? Hi, all. Hope everyone is well. A few more greetings, and we'll get going here as we get rolling. Looks like everybody's ready to go. I got to catch up. Hold on. I see some names thrown around. I see some heavyweights rolling through. People trying to little guys trying to inch their way inside. Right, Mr. Pabsy. I see you, brother. I apologize. I've neglected my Kodakai duties. I gotta come and say hi. I fell asleep. I got the notice and I was on the couch and it's just been the roughest of days. And I just like passed out. I woke up, it was like 10 p.m. So apologies. But I will say hi to you guys soon though. I appreciate that. Good to see you, Chris. It's always good when you're here, man. What else we got? Smoking brisket. Oh, nice. Yeah, that would be a thing. Is Mike a big Rams fan for the Super Bowl? Michael is not. I will give you a quick rundown of my football. I'll go pro. We'll talk college another day. Pro is hello, Forrest. So when I was a wee lad, when I was a little kid, my mother worked 2 jobs. She was divorced in the 70s, and my grandparents would babysit me. And my grandmother was a Louisiana girl, a Cajun, which is LSU, which is Terry Bradshaw, which is Pittsburgh Steelers. My grandfather was a Roger Staubach fan because he was in the Navy. Staubach was a Navy veteran of the academy, and Roger Staubach was the Dallas Cowboys head quarterback. And the Steelers and the Cowboys in the 70s and 80s were big rivals, huge rivals. They were all the big 70s and 80s. But Grandma did the cooking, and Grandma had donuts. So Senor Miguel became a Steeler fan. I've been a Steeler fan ever since. So to Los Angeles, because we're all living in Los Angeles at the time. The LA Rams, the old LA Rams / Anaheim Rams, in the family that owned them, nobody liked them. And I still don't like the whole scenario of moving to St. Louis, what they did to St. Louis and then coming back to LA. So Rams to me can go F off. Plus they brought the Chargers up this like the bad stepbrother to use a stadium on the back end, like on off days. Like that's what that feels like. And half of my stepdad's side of the family, they're all from San Diego. So they're all big Charger fans. So that whole scenario at SoFi and everything about it, I'm not a fan. I do like that Stafford's had a great year. I love that he's had a resurgence of his career and what they're trying to do, and they're all in, and actually kind of like some of the uniform changes they've done. I can't lie. But I like the classic Ram blue and yellow uniform. I never liked the navy blue that they went to. I'm glad they kind of went back to it. And I like the bone color of the off-white that they use, which is pretty cool. So Nike did some cool stuff with the uniform. I'm not a big fan of the helmet, but I'm an AFC North guy. So, well, I'm leaning on Cincy. Go Bengals. So there's your answer. Red Beach One Studios. Yes. So when I bought on eBay model cats, and for you in particular, Red Beach, the thing I think you supplied me with, which was Rob Burnside, was, and I still have them. And if you can find these guys, not so much the tracks, because I do have a Panzer IV set, I forget the name, but it's the StuG III detail set, which had all the tool clamps and all the little jimmy rigs on the side, and they're in plastic and they're as fine as photo etch. One is still one of the best aftermarket sets in the history of aftermarket sets, and I don't know if they still make it. They might still, if Model Casting is quietly still pumping them out. But I suggest you guys find those things. Chris only has little elbows, so I got to make the most of them when I can. This is true. Are they purple elbows? Okay, we got to get going here. Hello. What's up, Florian? How are you, brother? Sort of like the Raiders saga. Yeah, and I actually went to a lot of Raider games at the Coliseum, and I was there the year they beat Denver 3 times in a row at home, I think, in that year where they played them, they beat them twice at home and 1 on the road, but that's the Hofstetler year. And one of my buddies in here was a Hofstetler fan. So I watched I actually went to those games, the 2 that were at home at the Coliseum when they played Denver that year. Was it Elway was a QB2? Was it Haas and Elway still? Can't remember. I'm a little rusty on that. They might have them on Amazon. Yeah, the paper towels are fine. That Green Bay fan who moved to Missouri, picked up the F's. Missourians makes hating the NHL Avalanche easier too. Yeah, absolutely. The residual fallout. Like, I'm not an Anaheim. So anybody from LA, if you're listening, I'm not an Orange County fan. I'm from LA. Grew up in Los Angeles, born at LA Memorial Hospital. Lived in Inglewood next to the Forum. So I'm a Laker fan. Dodger fan, diehard. Lakers, I'm falling off that one too. The Blazers are a fun team to follow when they're having a good year. But yeah, anyway, question, what did I miss there? Did I miss anything else? Okay, we can get going. Are we ready to roll? Wim, hello, Wim. How is my friends in Belgium today? Hello, Mike, everyone. Greetings, Matt F. And please, again, hit the like button, subscribe, and all that good stuff. So Patreon real quick, and then we'll switch to model building here. Patreon, we've added this morning. I added the coaching tier. It's limited to 12 spots. It's $100 a month, but you get a 1 to 2 hour session per month, and you get a 1-to-1 coaching. We'll do a video right back at you. We'll do all reviews of your work in emails and photos. to get me up to speed, and we'll do all the prep work ahead of the video conference. And then you'll ask me questions about what you want to get better at, or what you want to do, or whatever it is that you're after in terms of a goal. And I will say this unequivocally, it's, for those of you that really want to go to that next step and really make it to that next step, this is what this for. It's very limited. So obviously it's not for everybody. I'm not trying to make it for everybody, but I've got limited time, and I can do about 3 sessions a week realistically. And so that's what I've set this up as. You can click the Patreon link in the description below. And that should be up there. And so you'll see promotions in that. Coming up to the 50th episode of the streams next Wednesday, I'll have the lower level tier implemented. I'll probably have that done by tonight or tomorrow. I ran out of time this morning because the second part of the conversation is shipping, and I've had to take a lot of that over. So it takes up a bit more of my time and to get caught up with what's going on. So Patreon's up and running in terms of the next tier, and then the 3rd tier will be up as well if you're interested in it. And next Wednesday we'll go over the details of all the tiers, and then next Wednesday we'll do a 50 episode review. Kind of everything going on with all the stream projects and all the model building projects and everything that we've done. I'll do one more kind of update review for everything. And then I'll try to come up with something kind of special for the 50th episode. I haven't quite figured out what I wanted to do yet, but we'll do something special for next Wednesday. So if you guys are having any time for next week, they want to come in and it should be pretty fun. Maybe I'll do a giveaway or something. I'm trying to figure that out. But we'll do something cool for the 50th episode for sure. And then, as I mentioned last week, RSP bumped heads with our fulfillment service pretty seriously to where we're no longer in business together. And that means the main thing for everybody listening, and because it is going to turn legal, so I can't get too detailed, is there's going to be some delays on the transfer of inventory that I've got to pull the inventory at the location in Europe back to here, and then some here in my office here. So I'm going to take over all the shipping. RSP is 10 years old in June. And I've done shipping about 7 of those 10 years myself. Every time I involve myself in a fulfillment service, a third party, it's called 3PL, third party logistics, where they warehouse and store, and then they handle your orders. It's like an Amazon or something like that. It's not gone well. We're too small to affect changes. And this is the same problem I have with the printer, where I'm too small to affect the schedule. And I realize that with the printer, it's okay, because the printer, we understand, if you've got a big job coming in, RSP is going to get pushed aside because we don't print large volumes of books compared to lead to some big, like a Random House or even like a Stackpole or even like an AK or something. So that's fine, because the printer produces technically very, very high quality products. I'm very happy with the printer. A little slow, but I understand. With the shipping, it's no excuse. This is the meme, the modern meme of you have one job. You put a book in a box with a label on it. I've timed myself, no shit, with the stopwatch and done 10 books, done 20 books. I've timed myself on how long it takes to do all this for a company my size, including printing the label, putting the label on the box. It takes about a minute to do one. So, in 10 minutes, you can have 10 books out the door per day, or 20 books out the door per day. In an hour, you can have 50 to 60 a day. And we saw, I saw when I was giving my invoices over Christmas, the holidays, that 40% of the orders had shipped and 60% had not in a 6-week period of time. So I lost my shit. I had enough of it. It's been 2 years with them. So c'est la vie, all that crap, it's behind us and it's just moving forward. But right now it's a relocation of inventory. I have some here behind me, and then it's just picking up the slack. And so it's going to take me a little bit of time to get caught up. Some of you are getting stuff. No, the books will not come from Europe anymore, Eric. So we're going to have to deal with some VAT stuff. So the reason I stuck through this, because it's not been a smooth ride. It's been 2 years of just up and down with them. But the benefit was because of VAT, because of Brexit, 50% of my overseas business is all in Europe. 50% of all RSP businesses in North America, and then the rest is spread around. But Europe and the UK is a huge market for Rinaldi Studio Press, and it has been for a decade. So we've tried to manage that, because that made a lot of sense to print and ship inside of Europe. It worked really well. When it works fine. When they put the book in the mail, it works fine. But they weren't putting the books in the mail, and no reasons given and no answers, and it's just bullshit. So, and you guys suffer, and that's not acceptable. John Foisey, how are you, brother? Actually, Chris Pabsey, he's a California operation, and they contract through people in Europe. So it's kind of Portland, LA, Europe, and it was a whole thing. Just never worked out. So put it to bed. But nothing's changing in terms of pricing right now. Everything's the same. So if you do order from us, the free shipping, everything right now, everything's the same. What was happening was the costs inside of Europe were lower than we paid normally. And so that offset the higher cost back to the United States because we were shipping US customers from Germany. Well, that's reversing again. So US customers it'll cost us less, but our European prices will go up, but it still balances it out. It's okay on that end. So we're okay. I have to work out some VAT stuff, but that's not a big deal. Just paperwork. My photos send advantage and cons of working in dark artificial. Okay, so switching gears real quick. Corey asks. So yes, I've had a few questions recently about cameras, about photos, about lighting, and how best to do this. Remember, RSP's end game is publishing, so I need the crisp white backgrounds, and I need even colors from a January start to a December finish, so that all the colors are even all the time. So I tend to work mostly at night in our artificial light to control the colors, so that these colors in the books are even as best I can. If you're social media driven or online driven, it's not going to be as critical. Like my office here has 2 big giant windows, so today's gray and overcast. This afternoon, the sun come out and the colors can change on you. Some cameras can adjust for that. The cell cameras do a better job at it, like the iPhone 13 will do a better job. If you're DSLR and you want that next level, then you're going to have to control the ambient lighting in the room. So it just depends on your end game. As long as the model is well lit and the image is nice, really what I'm talking about is controlling the colors. Focus and lighting and how well it's lit is pretty easy to get through. But if you're model building through various times of the day, you have an ambient light source, it will adjust things through the camera, even on a cell phone, because you can see even here, there's a little bit of, you get the sunlight color coming in, even though it's a cloudy day out there. So that is kind of how I play that. And for streaming, I don't really care too much. But for book production, I go pure control, no ambient light, artificial light only, and then I control it with the white balance in my DSLR. So it just depends on your end game. Evan from Toronto, sunny and warm today. I guess apparently it's nice in Toronto. I should get on an airplane, get on what is it, WestJet? Get up over there, hop over Alberta through Detroit, through the lakes, and then and hang out in Toronto. I miss Toronto. I had some good times there. Mickey, Mikey, what's up, Ghost Rider? How are you, brother? How's it going, Jim? Even if you're taking photos of natural light, you need at least a reflector, have some control, and all that stuff. Yeah, there's a ton of other parts to getting good lighting, but I think his question was more about, do I shoot artificial or do I shoot sunlight? And I control everything because of publishing. So I go pure artificial light and then light my shit. Whereas I make sure that the windows don't affect my stuff. Keeps my schnizzle pie in the level. Ooh, there you go. Mr. B, Plamo Builder, hello. Regards from Panama Republic. Nice. Good little Central America today. Hola, amigo. I don't know if Spanish is appropriate. We'll go with it. John says, I got to use MMP for the first time this past weekend. I saw that, John. I think it was the yellow turret numbers on the 16 scale. Now I see you use stress paint R. So yeah, it can be a bit like magic. I think. Thank you, Mr. B, for the book love. Yeah, mission models, paints, and the wear and tear. You're getting what I saw on the StuG here. Don't break the merchandise. Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I gotta make sure it's nice and tidy. Okay. Any other final questions? What else do we got? Did we get? So yeah, TankArt 2 SM4. I'm expecting those probably middle of March. And just a heads up, they're going to have to be shipped back to me. So there's going to be a slight lag in that. But because I'm handling it, there won't be any lag moving forward once they get them, which has been the problem to date. Is when they go into the warehouse, there's been tremendous lag getting books out the door. And many of you have experienced it, and it's not, believe me, it's not acceptable. It's not how RSP is supposed to be doing stuff. So it did. I hit the track, so I didn't break the model. We're good. But let's put this up here and let's get going. Mr. Stugalicious. All right. Yeah. So I've got a lot of help in terms of the shipping conversation. We have access to some friends' accounts and stuff. I had some people step up to help RSP because I did reach out. It is going legal, so I did, quote unquote, I lawyered up. I have never lawyered up in my life, and I've never needed to until now. So that's a fun thing. You're like, woo! Look at that. What else? And after I used, and if you watch the show, I really like the Goliath on Amazon. It's kind of what this feels like, except with a few less zeros involved. The StuG be able to order till March. I hope they're still available then. Ghost Rider won't be able to order till March. Yeah, everything will be available. No, you guys are fine. No, there's no issue with quantity or supply. This is just I have to relocate some inventory so I can physically take care of it. And then the shipper will, the printer will get new delivery instructions. That's all that is. It's pretty straightforward. It's a simple problem. It just requires a little time now. But we're going to use airmail, and we're not going on the boat. And I think we're going to be using one of the big carriers like FedEx or UPS. So it'll show up pretty fast. I'm not super concerned about that. Okay, so I brought the StuG back. A couple of things I wanted to go. We've been doing the P61, which is fine. And I've been trying to wrap up a couple little things. But what I want to do in the month of February, we're one solid weekend. We have three more streams for this month, I think, or three about. But I would like to put the StuG to bed, sign off on it, and the Cromwell, the Desert Cromwell one. You'll see that pop back. You'll see that return as well, and we'll get those kind of handles for the tank, the armor modeling. And then in the Gundam world, or at least the Mecha Gunpla / robot dudes, all you fellas, you're going to get the two small ones out of the way because I want to bring back over the GPO4 in March and get that going to coincide with the P61 aircraft project. And so that's kind of the immediacy of the stream projects. Oh, and the RSO, which I put back in the closet just to protect it because I broke the again. I broke the little driver handles on the RSO. Moving that around. So that's back in the closet, safe and secure. So that's the red one. And that one will be finished in March. The only thing left on the RSO really is to put it together and then finish out the bed, the back end of it, the flatbed part, and then put some sort of like a wrecker crane or something. And that might be a little scratch building stream that we do. Maybe I'll cut some styrene up and glue some styrene and we'll do some fun stuff like that. But for this guy, so from this line forward here, let me zoom in a little bit. So from this point here and over here to about here, this whole section right here has no OPR on it. So this is just the painting, the part. This part all over here, this is all OPR all through here. It looks like I had a little bump of pigments up there. I'll show you how to fix a mistake when that happens, like I had a little residual. It was on the desk and something blew onto it. But all this work here, this is all pretty much ready to go. And then from there, it's just loading up the stowage, putting stuff on the back end here to kind of give it a little bit more of a used look. And I'll just come up with some sort of plan here, wood posts and spare tracks. And then to finalize this one, in a couple of weeks, we're going to do the 2-part epoxy resin tarp, if you will. Not resin, so 2-part epoxy, a tarp. And we'll put some spare tracks, and we're going to put oftentimes in cold weather, this particular, all StuGs through the war, they'd often get like a canvas cover put over that I guess it prevents kind of the cold air coming in through the cabin or the fighting compartment, as it will. Because I'm sure the cold air in Russia and stuff like that, Eastern Europe in the wintertime, this would get pretty. So there's a lot of times where tarps were put over that, and we'll do that. And I've done that in other previous projects too. I'll show you. I think it was in this one. Yeah, it was this guy. Open right to it. Okay, so you've got the Sturm 33, which is another early war Russian subject matter, Barbarossa campaign subject matter. One of my personal favorites. I love this model. This guy. We're going to do this. So we're going to do a 2-part epoxy. I'll show you how we do it. We'll mix it on camera. I'll have done one to fit already previous, like a cooking show. I'll do the early cook version, and then we'll show you how to do, because you need like 24 hours for it to dry before you can use it. But so we'll get into that. We'll show you how to do that. I'll show you how I paint it. I'll show you how I paint the tarps. I have a different way to paint tarps than most model builders do. So it's a slightly different style, and I try to fit the style of the tarp paintings and stowage painting kind of into the style of the armor painting. Because sometimes what I feel we see is you get kind of a Zenithal lighting on the fabric stuff, and then the tank is not. So like you have to make sure. I've always believed I like to have a harmonious. I like my stowage to kind of match. Like I really like how the wood chipping from that chipping episode where we did the wood just fits the model, works. And so that style of hairspray chipping with the hairspray chipping on the chipping and stuff that I did on this guy and all that kind of fun stuff. So trains have tight spots that artificial light causes shadows, so coverage doesn't carry well. So drive natural light shows more. Yeah, for sure. I think you're misinterpreting me, Corey, a little bit about this. Is that my end game is determined by book publishing. So I need to make sure everything that I do is under the same light source. If I start bringing in natural light and taking pictures, the colors are different. So I have a different requirement for it. If you just need to add light to see stuff and your purpose is online posting, then yeah, you're totally cool. Just understand that what I'm trying to do, how I explain how I shoot this stuff with the camera and stuff, it's because it's got to go into a book with on a white background and look a certain graphic way. So I try to make that consistent across all the books and all the models. So that's a prerequisite versus kind of what you're talking about. Hopefully that clears that up. Yeah, and February is the perfect month to finish. Yeah, exactly. We're gonna roll into maybe I do weather themes. Mike Skyers, hello man, long time no see. What's up, brother? How you doing, man? How more Torontoan? Okay, how do you say this? Torontoans? What do you guys call yourselves? But anywho, that's the breakdown on what's happened with the StuG. So I've got Mr. OPR palette here from last week, which is still good. It was in the freezer. I pulled out my tank raft. I just wanted to give them a little bit of love today because I had this. I cleaned up my closet and some other stuff, so I put the tank raft cutting mat back onto this guy. And if you're not familiar with what has happened to this guy, it's not. Some of these videos appear on Patreon. Added the snow. This was my old recipe. I did receive the There's a snow product I've got, and I haven't used it yet, but I did receive it from the UK, the Snow and Ice Company or whatever, who was making it. So I do have that. We might touch on that, just a little bit of touch up later on. But what I had done was I put all the snow on this guy. Tracks are mounted for the final time, and so we can, at this point in time, when I'm at this stage with the tank model. This is all just loose. I keep it loose for now. So I'll flip this over so you can see what I do. Okay, so the belly was never really truly weathered like completely. But what I do is just to those of all the track questions and everything else. Anytime I use a track set like this, and it's not bolted to the base for the final presentation, like it's going on the shelf or being shipped to a collector or something, I leave these pins long because these are the joint pins of the final two. So you feed them through, you put them on, and you slip that final pin in. And from now on, I can just, when I have to move the model, because these are metal tracks, another reason I like the Fru model tracks is they withstand handling this way. So that's what I do with that. Probably should get this off of the spinner. I love these Lazy Susans for I usually, when I work, my normal work thing, this is what I use. A lot of guys have asked about these in the past. These are just your standard kitchen Lazy Susans you get at any of the stores. They're like $3 a piece. And it's got a nice, some other wood. Yeah, it's got a rubberized base. These are for kitchen or kitchen storage. So any Target, Walmart, or a similar store in the UK or, overseas should have them. But for sake of the show, I find it a little bit better just to have the model stabilized for the camera work. Because when I spin it spins it right off camera. Or you see me dealing with that bullshit all the time. So anyway, Torontonians. There you go. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. I appreciated particularly the phonetical spelling with standard words. Ands. I love it. I knew it, Ann. She almost gave me the knee. You're checking. Steve Jones, you can't beat a nice pair of crap in the back and a StuG. Yeah, exactly. So we'll get to that. We'll do all the stowage. We'll do that on the Cromwell as well. We'll do a desert version of stowage, and we'll do a winter with this guy. So it gives you kind of the bookends. Okay, so we've got, I just put a little paper towel down just for protection. We've got the OPR towel here. We can glue this guy down here. Actually, let me just make some adjustments, get us on camera. There's double side tape under that, so that's locked into place. And then what you saw me when I started was cutting the tape up for the thinner. Just get this little guy off there. Oh, that worked nicely this time. It's being cooperative. Can't complain about that. Okay, so I use right now, I still have a few bottles of the AK's odorless thinner, but I recommend any hobby odorless thinner for you guys. So what I do is I double side tape the little holder cup down, because this is an efficient way to use your thinner. If you haven't noticed, just need a splooge, little splash. Okay, and I've got. So the beauty of this, now I've been chatting for 45 minutes now. I got to get going. The beauty of this process is you can move really quickly into it. And also, just to be clear on the YouTube stuff, I'll put down tomorrow chapter stamps, so you can skip the first 45 minutes of me yapping, get right to it. You'll see it'll say demo, first demo, whatever. So if you don't know that, it'll be down below in the description. So let's see, we need a couple good color brushes. Got my little stash choice here. You get a couple blenders, different sizes, different styles. I don't really know what I'm going to need just yet. I don't need a pigment brush. I don't need a chipping brush. I do need my little main. That's one of my main blenders there. And then what else do we need? Let's get a really nice precise blender, brand new Sharpie. Super Schnizzle Pie. Okay, the Jimmy Jammers have been selected. Everybody take a drink. Okay, what else we got? So I'm going to be studying your videos and book real hard, because I'm going to do okay. I saw Zacharelius's contest announcement for the battle log kits. I almost thought I could participate, but given what I'm dealing with right now, I probably wouldn't be able to touch something till the mid to end of March, and I wouldn't be able. I actually thought about doing it. I do like the Blazing Gundam. I was actually thinking of doing the Goof, but I'm not. So you're good. That's okay. But yeah, good luck on that, Mike. And if you have any questions or anything, you know, you've got my number. You can reach out, DM, whatever you need. Help a brother out. Get him going. Yeah, because I think you're very creative, Michael, and I think that'll be a fun transition for you to do that. You know, you've got good visions, good plans. Okay, so it's a real basic setup. Anytime I sit down and work on a model like this, the reason I decided to kind of continue on with this on stream with you guys is because it'll illustrate one of the things with oil paint rendering, and one of the points of it, like a pro versus a con. This was done, what, 2, 3, 4 months ago, whatever this was. This here is a guide for me now. When you produce the work under this kind of guise of taking the palette, working the colors in, weathering the model up, and then moving to the next section, this is all static now. Like there's nothing. It's first off, it's paint, so there's no harm or foul that's going to come to it. You don't need to worry about it. It doesn't need to be protected. As long as it's a display model, and at least put somewhere safe, you don't have to worry about anything happening to it. Nothing changes or alters. The colors are set from the moment you do them. What this allows us, though, is this gives us information for the next time we sit down, because a gap in time has happened now where I've worked on other models. It's replicated a little bit of some of this is slightly intentional. I know coming back into this, it's going to be a good teaching point to talk about that element to oil paint rendering again, because the point of it is to work in the small sections. Now, you don't have to. Don't get me wrong. It's not a do or die, but I have found over time that when I do this kind of part where I do a little bit here, work it all in, get it all done, move over here, because I didn't even think these streams were different streams, but it still creates a really nice, harmonious final result. And the point, same thing, is I think we went panel by panel. And even though you'd think maybe instinctive, well, how do you control that? Well, it's really easy because you can see immediately what's happened here. So if you want to go less or more, or whatever you need to do to adjust to create a seamless transition, it's extremely easy to manage. It's not a stressful situation. And so what that means is now I can come in here, and usually what happens is over time, your palettes are relatively the same. There's only so many oil paints that we'll use. It's not like I have 200 oil paint tubes of oil paint and I forget what I've used. There's only about a dozen or 2 dozen total. And of those 2 dozen, 4 or 5 of them are all, the black, white, the 3 rust tones and brown tones and all that stuff are all preset. And the light grays and the stuff that relate to this particular subject are all related just to that subject matter. So they don't have there's no variances there, if you know what I mean. Like I'm always going to be using that same 3 or 4 tubes of oil for this colorway. It's pretty simple. So there's no stress to that. So when you come back with a new palette, it's going to be the same colors. My dust colors are always these dudes anyway. So it's all good. I know the colors are there. So if I need to do anything to match all this, it's really easy to sit down and come back in and okay, well, it's all basically it's all right there every time, which is part of its teachable element to it of repetitive, sustainable kind of. You can do this for long periods of time. Um, Second to that, and I think Dan's touching on that a little bit, is I spent a decade doing the one bottle, one step at a time, like a pin wash over the whole model. And it's not a negative. It's not, I'm not trying to be negative towards it, but it's just at a point in time, I lost interest. You kind of lose the gumption, you lose your motivation, your mojo, whatever you want to call it. And they oftentimes can sit and you don't get a sense of the model. Like, gosh, what is it really doing? But you can see through this process, I can come back to this at any point in time and I can see exactly what this StuG's going to do. And I love that about model building, that painting that way, weathering that way. That changed my vision towards scale modeling completely. And it actually remotivates me almost every time I do it. The only time I lack motivation is when I have like shipping problems. But as far as this is concerned, every time I sit down, I'm super happy about that. And I like that part of this. I find not to be like happy-go-lucky, but I just like to be like, I'm not stressed about it. Like it doesn't worry me. Like I can sit down, I can stop my work and do this stuff as a hobbyist for you guys or whatever it is. And it just, I like that. I think it's important to reemphasize that. And I think a lot of you are picking up on that too. Yeah, I think Dan's mentioning it too. And this is kind of one of the things that, you know, even, and it doesn't matter Gunpla, it doesn't matter aircraft or whatever. And we'll get, when we do it on the Black Widow, we'll show you like you do a portion of the wing and you get it kind of, dude, it's hard to like not keep going sometimes. Like you'll push till 2 a.m. and you're like, shit, I got to go to bed, you know, and you don't want to, you want to keep going. So that's part of one of the things. So the first thing I do when I sit down is I condition all the brushes because they're dry. So get a little thinner. And just to reemphasize the wonderful KINGART stuff, there's an affiliate purchase link down below if you need brushes, plus their oil paints and plus their weathering pencils or color pencils to weather with. KINGART stuff, the gold ones are the color brushes. They are a 100% replication of the old, some of you have asked that have the Lower Cornell still. They're identical, just the one's gold and one's red. And I think the gold stripe's a little thicker. They altered that a little bit by millimeter. But that's it. The bristles and everything else are the same. The red one is a brand new one, and this one has been used a couple of times. So you get a bristle change, you'll get a color change a little bit. But you can see that's what they're identical. We use the number 2s because it has a nice long shaft of the bristle, but there's enough with the belly here, holds enough material, and then it holds a really nice, precise, sharp tip, which is what we love. These are great all-around brushes too. They handle all the other painting needs and other little detail needs, and I'll paint all my stowage and everything with it. I will do majority of my figure painting with stuff when I ever do paint figure. You can paint a lot of figures with this. You can do a lot of stuff with these in the other types, and I have it all listed down below for you guys so you guys can all keep your stuff going. Second to that, once you get the brushes, kind of get the bristles all conditioned, go through this real quick with you guys. Just kind of repeat, fumble right in the thingy. That's why everything's taped down. Yeah, I meant to do that. I swear. I'm a little clumsy today. It's the first good day in a while. I look forward to the streams with you guys. I've had a bit of a 2-week bump in the, you know, kick in the head with the shipping dudes, but you know, you guys have been great. Mostly everybody's been supportive. And I'm trying to send out emails to those of you delayed that. So if you are in that conversation, you'll see me reach out to you soon. It'll take me a couple of weeks to get everybody situated, but I've already started the process. So, okay, that's all ready to go. Now, the second to that is take your blender brush. If you haven't touched the model in a while, come in with some pure thinner. And this will clean off any dust, oils, residual, anything that's kind of, I got a little snizzle, a little snot there I got to fix too. We'll fix that. I'll show you how to do that. One of these days, those Skyers and Pabsy and everybody, we'll pretend that we're friendly combatants and we'll compete in one of those online contests thingy, Jimmy Rigs. Yeah, I was like, I really would want to, but I've got tasks to take care of. They're taking my time. Bitches won't leave me alone. So anywho. Yeah, 2022's, I had somebody tried to steal my car. Somebody broke the window in the other car. Shipper decided, oh, we're not going to ship, but so F you. No reason given. I mean, maybe I rub them the wrong way. I don't know. It's just conditioning the bristles in the surface. I think there's a little bit in here. We'll try to get most of this weathered up today. Thank you on that comment, Mr. Garoscale. Yeah, I'm to answer the question if it's ever asked. I don't think it is. I don't think you guys give a shit. Nobody cares. The StuG B, the winter StuG B from Barbarossa is my single top favorite tank. This is my favorite of the favorites. I have a list, but if I had to pick one, and this is number 4, I believe. And this is actually the way this one came out. We had some hiccups. We fixed some of the hiccups. So we had a bunch of good and bad. If you go back to the streams, does remind me. And we'll talk about this next week at length because I should have it done by then. So below, or no, when you click the page, when you click the RSP YouTube page with the actual page where it says, about videos, playlists, community, all that on YouTube itself. In the future, very soon this weekend, between Super Bowl, I'm going to put playlists for everything. So I'm going to have an OPR playlist, and I'm going to tag all the videos with OPR in it. And then inside of that, you should be able to go to the chapters, and I'll make sure that they all say, and they should. It'll say second demo OPR. All that stuff will be in a playlist. And then second to that, I'll do playlists for the StuG and every stream project we had done. So all the StuG, if you just want to go where the StuG is at, or where the Cromwell, or whether the robots, Mechatro, trains, I'll put playlists for all that. So there'll be multitude of playlists for you guys to maneuver through the streams, because I know with 50 streams, it's hard to find stuff now. And that's on me. I've been meaning to do that. So I did remind myself to do that. Let me get my hair dryer. Hold on. It hangs under the table here. Okay, the second thing that you all need is doesn't have to be Conair, but you need a little hair dryer. So that's ready to go. No airbrushing today. I don't plan to use airbrush today. Look up Zach Aurelius. Yeah, Dan, I'm surprised you're not. Yeah, Zach Aurelius, because Dan, I think you're a Gunpla modeler. Real quick, USA Gunman Store, and Zach is an employee, so it's a combination of his YouTube page with YouTube, USA Gundam, is doing for the Bandai Battlelog series kits only a special painting contest for that through April, the end of April. So you got 3 months. Steven was doing some OPR and apparently rendered my form was laying just enough on my palette. And well, yeah, you'll get that a lot. I do that. You guys have watched me. I get this all the time. We'll get going here in 2 seconds. Yeah, that'll be Kyle. That'll be one of my main things, is that those playlists become a resource. I want to make sure that the page is a really good resource, because we're at 50. There'll be another every week, so there'll be another 50 coming. So we'll be at 100 by the end of the year, almost to that point. Maybe some special bonus videos, and I will start doing edited content pretty soon in terms of YouTube edited. Like I got to do an intro video and some other stuff. So. But anyhow, yeah, I think the prizes are pretty solid. It'll be a good, nice setup. Where did you get that cool cutting board? Greg Mix. This is from, it's right here, dude. Sorry, man. It's these guys. Tankraft. That guy right there. And tankraft.com. And they've got Shermans, Tiger 2s. I think there's some aircraft. They have quite a few stuff as they grow and get set up. Okay, so the surface is ready to go. The brushes are ready to go. You've got your older work here. I think can I go this way? Let me see. I may not need this right away. Maybe we just go pure flat. Get a little bit set up there. Move the camera a little bit there. Okay, everybody see that nicely? Yeah, the 13. This is the iPhone 13 Pro, and it's holding steady. I'm happy with this. Okay, just last final question. I'm going to get my head down. Yeah, I know, Dave. I do. It's my goal. It's expansion, rule the world, build an empire. I'm done with the bullshit, man. Everybody listen to me, man. I'm this thing with what I'm dealing with. Like I'm done with it. Like changes are coming. So I've had it. Like my patience and nice guy dude. Like I'm done. No. We're not it's hard to explain. Okay, one last thing. Okay, so when you pull the pallet out, so this is a pallet that's been in the freezer for the last week, on and off. So I let it come up to room temperature. So it comes out of the freezer. I put it in a little plastic bin, and that preserves this for a couple of weeks, sometimes longer. So you can keep using the oils over time. I'm using the Tamiya stir stick thingy, but what you have to do as it progresses, it'll kind of get a little like a cake. If you leave a cake on the counter, it gets kind of crusty on top. So you got to come through. I kind of give them these are still pliable. These are 10 plus days old and they're still fine. But these, see how soft that was? So this is my burnt sienna, my burnt umber, and my raw umber. These are my Winsor Newtons. These are my KINGARTs. There's a couple 502s left over here. Over here, there's a couple 502s. So it's just, you got your blues, kind of grime colors, your rust dirt mud colors, a black and a white. Kind of put those there. And then I got my warm tones. I probably won't be using any of these, but I have them here anyway. I might be using some of the ochre with the rust to kind of give some of the colors that you see over here. So this is all in the palette. It's all ready to go. But what you need to do is, it's always a good idea, especially these dudes here, that if your paints are older, like these are 10 years old, let's look how that's still nice and soft. Just give a little poke. I can't even make comments anymore. PG-13. Just give a little poke, a little love, a little reach around, kind of just make sure that everything's good. And then what you can do is come in with a little thinner, one drop. That gets a little thinner on that surface of that oil paint. And this will help as you progress in the days of using the palette. The point of this here is this gets you going, because right now you have to put the brush in this and get the oils on the brush so you can start putting on the model. And when they're dry like that, it's a little bit of it resists you. You got to get things wet, my friends. You should all know that by now. 101, life 101. Okay, we'll leave this here. This will be my speckling thing if we do any speckling. And then I've got my reds, the blender, gold's the color, and then these little guys. Anything like this is almost always a blender. Yeah, it's Dan. Usually it's a printer or the shipper. These two kind of work together a little bit. In fact, I found the shipper through the printer and printer through like it's one of those, but they are separate companies. They have been separated. In the past, it was the printer and I was shipping, and I was having problems getting deliveries and problems getting, the product printed on time and for the money, and we paid the money and then we didn't get the product. And so that was a problem. And even then I didn't lawyer up, I'm like, nah, we're going to, whatever. Just moved on to another printer, but this situation here is a loss of business where they're not doing the job that's being paid for, and it's affecting everything involved. So, and it affects the printing too, in terms of getting it all done. So make it wet. Got it. Yeah. Still pumped in the TG. Yeah, no, I think that the technique, by the way, you guys are only seeing what I've announced in the past, and I'm not going to make the mistake again, but the future stuff, there's a lot of stuff coming in the TG series. I've already got planned. There's future SM books, and then the next big books are also planned. So everything's in the works. I just to get there. All right, enough talk. A lot of talk. Sorry, guys. Again, there'll be chapters stay an hour. Don't hate me. Don't get mad at me. Okay, the first thing I like to do when I sit down on a model like this, even though I've got my guide here, the previous work, is I like to start light to dark. It's the pretty common way for me to get going. I'll show you a little bit of the brushwork. What I'm doing here is, zoom out just a smidge so you can see a little bit of this. So what I'm doing is I'm just working, I'm lubing up the brush a little bit, getting the bristles loose, getting the paint in the brush so it's going to work. And you can see how easy the palette colors over here, everything works. See how beautiful that just immediately works. That's what you want to see. You want to see immediate color transition into the brush. So I'm coming in the paper towel. That's why I use the white paper towels for this process, so I can see this paint color. I use the brown paper towels or color paper towels to see a clear liquid. So if I have a clear liquid on a brush, I can see how wet it is. That's the point of that conversation from earlier in the stream. So, but on the white paper towel, because see, if you do that on the white paper towel, you can't really tell how wet that is. But with the brown colored paper towel, you can. That's why I have two of them there. I was trying to emphasize that. But anyway, back to loading the brush up. So the first couple times, what I'm looking for is kind of like an almost dry. I don't want it to like spread out the liquid. So I don't want it to be super juicy and wet. I want it to have some thinner and some paint. And I use the paper towel to control that. And I can control how much, by how fast I touch that, how much liquid gets pulled out. So it's kind of, if I want a lot out, you kind of slow down. All this is intuitive, but I'm trying to break it down a little bit for you guys. So I just go through this for a second or two. I'm just kind of repeating myself just while I talk. And then I do need my eyeballs because I'm an old motherfucker. What do we got? I did all this when the figure painting was oils. Yep. Passed it over to Armor, still use ground pastels because it bought so many back in the day. You're going to stick with the pastels. I love it. I remember the days of grinding pastels up. I will admit I started that way too. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here with the light tone. Put a little bit of, now I have to remember that it is winter and there's not a lot of dust involved, but I'm just trying to get a little something going, because what I'll do is I will come back and darken some of these up to kind of come up into this range of tone here. And I'm just going around the details where dust would collect, just an effort to show you. I'm going to adjust this a little bit in tone in a second. It looks like I did a little bit of rust work. I've kind of painted the tools previously, so I won't really get those too much. So you can see just the precise point. I'm holding it very loosely in my hand. I've got my left hand is braced against the table, and then my right hand, because I'm right-handed, is resting on top of my other hand. So I don't hold the brush up in the air. Like, I'm not doing that, just to reinforce that point to a lot of you, that to get the control that you need, the precision. You can see I cup my hands, cup them together a little bit, and kind of lock my knuckles, and kind of, this is what I'm doing. I oftentimes, and then I can come in here and I'm moving my shoulder and my wrist a little bit, almost my whole body, in the tip of the brush kind of moves with it, if that makes sense. So you can see how quickly and easily I can apply some color. And I don't need to add any more thinner, because you can see that you can see how wet that is. There's already thinner in the paint. This is already, the blending brushes are already been conditioned. So there's thinner going on everywhere. You don't need to add any more thinner at this point in time. And then you take the blending brush and you jiggle the tip, little jig, little coffee shake, and just kind of shape that in there to give you kind of a dusty, or the collection of whatever the color is. Now you'll see the dust kind of disappears, and all this over here, you just go through all of this. The beauty of oils, as most of you know, is the workable time. If that was acrylic, like a Vallejo or something, or a life color, you got to work way faster and go step by step by step by step. With OPR, I can do a whole section of application and then come back and blend. Enamels give you a little bit of buffer too. I'll crank it up one step. I think that'll give you guys a little bit more. So again, I'm not adding much more thinner. And so what I'm getting from this, the reason I do the application this way, and this is something to really emphasize that I haven't spoken enough about. I know I'm trying to pick up on my own teachings. Traditionally, you apply a pin wash as usually your first weathering step. So what's happening is that left in there, right there against that little fender support bracket, that's your pin wash. It's already applied. So now what I'm doing is kind of a slightly filter and a little bit of a dust layer as a residual secondary application, all super fast, all done at once. So I don't have to do a pin wash, another step. It's all done immediately. And that's when you're working a full section of oil paint rendering, that's the shift. The major shift between traditional practices and what we're doing here is that. So I'm doing, basically I'm killing 2 or 3 birds with one application at one time. And you can see I'm wiping that. See that? Always keep the tip nice and crispy sharp. And what I'm doing is that there's always a slight rotation with my fingers. So when I wipe, I always have a sharp tip and it's always ready to go. And I just kind of gently put it in there. Adjust the application of the oils, spread it around a little bit. In this case, I wanted some little bit of runoff streaks and stuff. And this is a very subtle color on this white, which is fine. Kind of just showing you. And we're gonna do some additional. So you can see how I leave a little bit of the pin wash in the joint there. And if there's a main difference in my approach to weathering, is that I don't put a dark shadow wash first on everything. That's kind of a misconception of how I apply the darker tones into this. I always kind of start with a little bit of a dustier application first, and then build up my depth of colors as I go. Because what that does is, you see here, and we'll get to this and I'll show you what it does, is when we add some darker tones over this, it'll give you kind of a layered effect and gives you a little bit more visual depth at the end of it. And that also plays a little bit to storytelling too. That way, no two models really look identical. you know, you can get a real easy habit of just kind of putting the same pin wash on everything to start. So I'm just kind of blending out the applications that I've done. And this is how I start a session. And the reason I kind of start this way, especially one that I haven't worked on in a while, is you kind of need a warm up. It's the warm up phase. You know, it's like getting ready for the match. You got to kind of warm yourself up. You know, I'm practicing my corner kicks right now, if that makes any sense, or my free throws. And I'm just practicing right now. Just making sure I hit all the spots that I applied it to. So you can see how quickly I get kind of a nice look to that at the end there with what I'm trying to do. Second to that, second or third or tertiary, whatever the words are, you have your other colors. The reason you have multiple color brushes is you don't want to put a dark tone. So this is my dust brush here. I don't want to add I don't want to put a green or a blue or anything in that. So I got another color brush. That's why you have multiples. And this one will be your darker tone one here. And we'll get a little bit of a rust brown with a little bit of the regular brown. That's some of these do dry out a little bit. Kind of cut that open a little bit. These Winsor Newtons here are probably 10 to 15 years old, I think. I forget the actual date when I bought them. So you do have to kind of work them a little bit. Get a little thinner in there, get that color out. Kind of, there it goes. So I come on the paper towel. See how diffuse that is? That means it's too wet. So I'm trying to, let's get some more color in this. I can even get a little tan and dust tone into that a little bit. So what I'm seeing here is, you see this right here, this color right there? That kind of lines up with what I've had done previously up over here. So that's how you do that. It's real simple. You just kind of look at what you've done before. You have the same basic colors. It's pretty easy to get in the mode of like, okay, I use that one and that one and that one. It's not super hard to do that. Let me catch up with you guys real quick. Ghost Rider, I believe they are deflecting incoming rounds away from the main gun sight. What are we? He's got my vote. I know your printer. Make OPR great. Micah for president. Thank you, Dave. Yeah, everybody get along. I'd make a good president. I thought about that too. I think I would. I think I honestly would make a decent president. It would be fun. It would not be this depressing bullshit that we've been dealing with for like 2 decades. I will give you that. It would be a lot more fun than what we've been dealing with, because I'm single, mofos. Because that would be a hoot. Dan, indeed I am, and just watch a lot of stuff and haven't heard about this. What do we? Nice setup. Where did you get that cool cut? We got that. I'm just scrolling back up real quick. Must like you. Just out of the no. I can't make some of these stories up. That's what pisses me off, is that I feel like I sound like I'm a effing idiot with all these like problems, and like I'm done with it. Like I'm super mad about it. You're welcome, Corey. I missed your goodbye. Take care, brother. We'll talk soon. Yeah, just catching up with chat. Question, Mike. I posted earlier. What are the slats next to the gun up top? Oh, sorry, Jim. My bad. Up here. Okay, so what you have in this particular version, this is the B model, and we didn't see this very often in German armor design. What I believe these were to help with the sighting device. This is the gunner position here, and in that opening right there is the actual gun sight that he looks through. If you have all these hatches open, there's a sight that sits up like a periscope right there that you can open these hatches for. So if you see here, here's the driver. So the driver's sitting like kind of, and I've been in a StuG. It's about like the walls here and the walls here. Like that's it. And that was a G3, the late one. It's the same basic shape in here. So it's a little dude goes in there, and then the gunner's sitting up right behind him, looking kind of up and over him. But that's what this is. I believe these ribs were to like a linear, like a, how you have the lines on the gun sight as they go down for range and all that. I think that's what these were for. Or it's some sort of strengthening rib. This was some sort of strength, maybe a thin panel that the ribs give it strength. There's no real hard answer for this, because it's the only time you really see this design on German armor. We don't see it anywhere else really, as far as I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I don't think we see even the Panzer IVs or anything, StuG IVs or anything. We don't see it other Jagdpanzers. So I think that's what it was. They did that on the B model. They reshaped this panel as one flat plate on the I think the C, D, E, and F and G's that were changed. I think C left them out. So it's either strengthening ribs or siding ribs of some form. That's the best I got for you on that. So hopefully that helps. Yeah, just a general. Oops. I don't want to do that. Hold on. I accidentally jammed the dust brush on the nose of the tank. Okay, fixed. Okay, put that down for a second. What else? Question. I have to model on a budget. I have cheap oil paints, no problem. The KINGART ones listed in the affiliate link below, guys. $25 for a set of, how many are in there? 24. It's like $1 a tube. Great, super good price. They seem to dry out like after 30 minutes. Okay. How do I deal with this? Do you know what kind? Are they oil paints, or are they like a watercolor oil paint? Well, they have the non-solvent oil paints. If you're using the cardboard like this, KX4, like where you put them on the cardboard, I use them for a couple hours on a session, and then I pop them in the freezer as described, and they'll last a while. They don't dry out. Like these stay workable. If you're talking about on the model, like if you're on here in 30 minutes to dry and you can't blend them, that's probably normal. They're starting to kick off, because if you're on the cardboard, you're pulling the linseed oil out. I don't know what your process, but that's how it should work. The reason for the cardboard is you want the linseed oil out so they are dry faster and more, the blending is more controllable. They're not slipping and sliding everywhere. It's not an oily mess. For deflecting rounds. Okay, so it's some sort of armor protection thing to deflect rounds. Yeah, it's going to be something like that. They didn't use this again, so it was only on the Bs and then disappeared, I believe. I don't think the A's had it either. I think it was the B had it. The C has the shape, but it was smooth, so I don't know. Yeah, it could be a bullet deflector. That's what you guys seem to think it is. But yeah, maybe it wasn't very effective, if that makes sense. But that would also, it could also make a lot of sense, because if you got a round inside that hole, which was usually open, that was one of, like, if you ever see these photos, that hole is almost always, there's an vertical armor slider, like a shutter inside, but it's almost always open, because there's not, as you can see, there's no other vision ports on the front of the tank. There's the two little tiny driver's spot visions and the periscope for him, and that's it. Whatever, the other visions are from the commander in the back and then the loader in the back. So that's my 2 cents. Bryce is back. The enlarged front from the late F, I think the front plate you spoke about is in the new angle. Yeah, you can actually see the difference in some. Yeah, and that's like when you're looking at, besides the gun, when you're looking at understanding which mark of the StuG you have, 2 things you look at is, get on camera, my friends. Spacing of the A was evenly spaced. The B starts the gap here, the big gap. That's the first one. The gun, obviously the main gun, long barrel, short barrel, and then usually everything on the front shape of usually this shape here. The rest of this kind of stayed relatively whatever. And then there's some armor plate differences on the front as they got thicker and bolted panels on some other stuff too. Yeah. Okay. So let me get this out of my way a little bit more so I can put that there. I keep bumping it, as is the way. This is the way, which I'm totally behind. I haven't watched the Boba Fett at all. I don't have Disney on right now. I had my other service on for football. Okay, so I've got the dust kind of applied down. I was just kind of a little bit of a warm-up phase. So let's transition to secondary color. Get back to this guy. Squish these Windsor Newtons out a little bit more. There we go. Okay, I'm just prepping this real quick. Okay, there we go. I just keep adding the thinner until I get a flow. I keep adding and mixing the colors, and so now I've got the color. That's the color I kind of was going for. So I've got that kind of. Check on the paper towel. You guys can kind of see. Now I can come back to the model. And so right over the other dust, I'm just coming in with a little bit darker. But you can see what I've done there is, and see how there's no bleed out? By using the paper towel, the important part of when you're applying colors and colors and colors and colors, because a lot of you ask about how do you do that? You do this by reducing the amount of thinner that you have on the brush. And that's what the paper towel is so important for. So what you saw me doing was loading the brush up and then unloading it, and then preparation for applying to the model. Second to that is the precision of the tip. This is why I keep reinforcing the brushes and everything about that is how precise I can apply that. And then how quickly I can grab the blender and I like the fact that my brown here is slightly different to the previous brown, even though probably on camera it looks this a little bit more rust and this a little bit more brown. I'm starting to add variety to the surface now, and I like that part about it because that adds a little bit of realism to it just by default. Because I'm not always using the same one color. So there's some modelers I know quite popular that burnt sienna wash all the time, every model, every single one. That drives me insane as a model builder. So I really want to get more life and description into that. And this is how you do that. So now you can see right there in that little spot, I got a little bit of dust underneath and a little bit of a darker stain on top. And I'm not going to try to get into all these on camera because it's a hard thing to get into this. I'm just going to give you the stuff you can really see. So just assume that I will be doing that too. So you can see how easily I draw that in there. And it's easier to do it light to dark than it is, other ways. So I don't use a ton of capillary action most of the time, because I just find that little bit there is usually a little bit nicer look than if you have this super even line on a real life battle combatant. Panel lining on Gunpla is a different conversation because it's a different visual style. But what we're talking about here is like the grittiness of like actual combat stuff of people playing in the dirt, if you will. That's why I kind of do it this way, because it gives you a really quick way to replicate that without thinking about it almost. In fact, I have to stop and think about it more to tell you guys how I do this, and sometimes it's just doing it. So there is that. That's how easy it can kind of be in terms of, applying these things to a model. So I just come in and just put that in there. Got a little extra stain in there, but see how precise this tip is? Wipe that clean, come in here. So just to do this little edge of the bracket real quick. And this is why good eyewear is really important, so you can see this stuff. And you can see I left the mold seam on the thingy. In my defense, I bought it this way and I didn't waste any time. So that's on me. So pretend this mold line isn't there. That's how you're gonna be nice to me. And you can see by the ambient light, see how purple and bounce light and all that stuff. That's because the open window bouncing all the different colors around. So this is why I tend to work to loop back to the lighting question is under a preset without the ambient light. Simply because if I'm taking pictures of this right now, you're going to get color shifts, and so I try to avoid that myself. But that's also kind of more of a pro tip versus just sharing online and stuff like that. But see how precise that application right there was. There's almost no thinner, just a little bit of paint on this brush. I'm in 100% control, but I'm getting results that are really cool looking. Maybe we put a couple little doohickeys there. Where's my blender dude here? Just kind of streak him down, real subtle streaks. So when I talk about like no chip is too small and stuff like that, same with your streaks. A little fuzzy there. Get off my fuzz. Just kind of doing a little something. But see how you just get the tiniest little thing. And the way I do that streak there Let's see if I can do that elsewhere. Yeah, let's do another one on the side over here. I'll show you. Let me raise this up a little bit. Okay, I'll use this vertical side right here. So I'll do the same thing. I'll show you real quick. So if you're doing streaking, when you're adding streaks to your model, and this is where those of you that are going to be getting coaching service and stuff from me, you're going to start hearing a lot of this kind of stuff for what I'm talking about. When you're really trying to do high level detail work in scale, the criteria for RSP, the criteria for that I look at as a judge or anything of this nature is if it's 1/35 or 172 or 1/100, whatever it is, are the marks that you're applying in that same scale. They have to be relative to that scale. That's probably the single most important process for weathering. If you take anything away from the stream, weathering and scale is just as important as anything else you do to the model to get it to achieve that scale. So it could be 1/220, 1/350. That's the crux of it. The difference maker between a silver, bronze medal conversation versus a winning a gold and is precision. It's in scale precision. Even on a clean build, that goes to the same thing. Your paint has to refine itself down to the same level of precision in 1/144 scales it does in 1/100 scale. Same with armor, 48, 35, 72. This is how you do this because it's the tip of that brush will achieve, brushes like this will achieve the bulk of what you need. It really will. Because I've played with all the various scales with the same group of brushes. So this sharp tip that this bristle gives you is critical. This is why we keep doing this. For 20 years, I use these brushes before this company goes, and all you guys are buying this stuff and they're going, okay, well, that's why the partnership's growing because this brush has actually proved to be so beneficial for this purpose. It's so specific. And it can't be underemphasized. Like you really embrace this, guys. Like I know many of you deep down, you want to improve. And so refining your weathering effects down to the scale you're working is you can never go too small. Like that little hyper tiny streak on I can't see it without my glasses on. That's how small it was. So I'll show you how I did it. Let's do this again. Okay, we're gonna put a little dark kind of greasy grime, little doohickey up here. That edge there, the crew will come around. This, this part of the upper thing will get a little bit greasier and darker. So I'm applying a little bit of oil paint there. And you can see there's no bleed off. There's no nothing. It's just pure application of about 50% opacity. It's not like pure paint, but it's not super loose. So you come in and you want a really good one. Get the blender brush crispy sharp, ready to go. I'll probably put the other ones down for now. So I've got my hands braced really nicely. There's no extra thinner on the brush, and you start dragging from below. And what you saw right there, you see that little residual streak? Is I actually push. So if I've applied the thingy, I'm pushing the bristle up against the color and pulling it down, which compresses the color down into a tighter streak. That's what you're seeing me do with the bristle, with the bristle of the brush here. So to get a really fine streak, see, I'm kind of pushing it slightly to the left and then pulling it down. And then that color there on the left edge is what's going to be left because that wet spot to the right is just clean thinner. So once you get a streak kind of going, then that's how you thin them down. And I kind of let whatever the oils will give me, like it's kind of like offense and defense. You just take what the defense gives you. I'm just taking what the oils here are kind of giving me a little bit. I'm gonna clean that up a little bit more. Because you don't want every single time you do this to blow away the model and overpower it. I want just normal wear and tear stuff. So now I take the hairdryer. And this will kind of lock everything in. Plus it also warms the models up because if it's a little cool, even though the heater's on, it's a little cool. So if we zoom back out, see how you almost don't see it, but when you get up close to that, you can just see the so the cameras will pick that up. So that's kind of important for photography work too. But that's going to be one of the main ways you just get super subtle little variations and hyper tiny. So that's kind of where this is. You can always make them bigger. That's the other. Yeah, that doesn't go very well either. All right. So those are some of the important tricks of what's I'm always looking for. And this doesn't have to be armor. This could be the shoulder. This could be a wing. Okay. Oils. So to the point of putting my hand in everything, I've got oils everywhere. I don't know what I've touched here. Let me clean up my mess. Just make sure I don't have. Sometimes you got to be careful because if you touch something, yep, there it is. Okay, so I accidentally touched it. Okay. All right. Back to the task at hand. So I'm going to go back to the dust now because I see now that I've got the model propped up some different areas I need I can hit. So I set up a little dust. I need some up in here. You can probably put a little bit extra up in here too, just kind of get a little more intense. I'll actually use this as kind of a collection spot of heavier dirt and grime around the axe head and the shovel head. And then now that since I've already got the other one here, we'll show you how to do 2 colors at once without any blending in between. Same thing, I kind of pulled the thinner out. I got some color on the brush. It kind of blends in a little bit with the wet dust that's in there. It's a little bit different look, just a different style of application. See, I just kind of stipple that tip where I want it, but I don't have a lot of extra. See how dry that is? The darker brush didn't have a lot of extra thinner on it, so that's really easy to apply that color into the wetter paint below, and then you can come back in with the simple blend step. So it's an easy way to do bigger areas quicker. See, I'm just jiggling the tip of the blender in there a little bit and letting it kind of blend in. Kind of filters the section a little bit at the same time. I don't know if you can. Again, it's under. You're seeing kind of the shadowy effect. So it gives you a little bit of dust and a little bit of dark all at once, and you can kind of go really fast with that too. Probably actually looks like the blue. We're getting a little risky. Pull that down a little bit. Not quite so intense. Okay. Question: can you show us how to do a horizontal scratch strip on a vertical? Yep, you got it, Steve. So to that point right there, I've got kind of one set up here already. I need a bridge. So let's see here. I don't know if this might be too tall. Okay, so let me see. Let me set this up for you because that's a good question, actually. You might have to give me a sec here to. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to see how I've got a chip scratch right there, just kind of right there, and this is a logical point where that scratch, like a branch or something, will come through. So let's take that and we'll put a little extra paint scratch through there. Okay, this will work. Okay, sweet. Let me zoom out a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. So I've got a IKEA couch leg. They're perfect little bridges. So this is called any type of like something that gives you a linear or something. It's called a bridge. In the art world, it's called a bridge. You can use whatever you want. Guys even use when they're standing at an easel, they'll put like a walking cane over the easel. So it gives them a vertical piece of wood and you can run your brushes along. What I'm doing is you use the collar here and you'll run that along that straight edge. So I won't touch it, and this is the blender. There's no color on it. But what you're basically going to do is you're going to rest this on that, and that's your linear element. And so what I'll do is I'll line this up, and that's just with the thinner. There's no color there, but that's how you'll get a nice straight line, just like that. So use some sort of object that you have that we call a bridge, and it just gives you a straight line. And you can use this in the vertical. You can go if you needed stuff like that. So I always have stuff like this around, and you've seen me do it on occasion in the past too. You're a Kansas boy. What do you got? Hello, another Steven. Multiple Steves. You have Steve 1, Steve 2, Steve 3. There's more Steves than Mikes today, which is weird. So Bryce said he found this old Japanese book called Octane Panther in PDF. It's an amazing number of different title of features. Yeah, shouldn't be available in PDF, but somebody has illegally done that. But yeah, all my books are available. Planet Earth. Sometimes, my friends, yeah, Octoon Panzers, in my personal opinion, I know there's guys that require other things, but for me, the way I model build, Octoon Panzers is the pinnacle reference book for like a tank, what it looks like, what the parts are, what part was what and when. in how it's supposed to be built together, and then the painting and weathering is differently, but all the details of where this goes, Octoon Panzer does a superb job. I've found. I think the way the Japanese think. So when I see their books, like what they're doing, like how they show you the drawings of the different sprockets, and this was June sprocket, September sprocket, like I correlate that, so I understand it real easily. So I like the Octoon Panzer myself. Some guys don't, but I do. Yeah. My Kansas boys are chatting. Paul DeToe, this is from Kansas. Yep, you're a bit late today. Oh, welcome, Paul. Good to see you. Always good to see you, my friend. What else do we got? Okay, thank Danny G. Did I miss anything? Did I miss any other schnitzel pies? Bullet deflectors. Okay, now we're back. Cut up. The enlarged the fighting. Yep. Memory colors. Most of my primary colors. Color wheel colors. Yep. Like Dust and Starship Filth. Hobby Lobby set. I don't know if Hobby Lobby made that. I think those are Vallejos. I think Hobby Lobby was selling Vallejo's sci-fi range. I think, or maybe some of the early AK science fiction range. Those are probably available elsewhere besides Hobby Lobby, I think. You said you put the cardboard pallet in the freezer when you're not using it. Yes, correct, Danny. So, Danny G, use a little Tupperware, Lunchable, whatever. That's the same kind of size overall as your little pallet of oil paints. Just put that on, put that in, and then drop that in the freezer. And then it'll last in the freezer for a couple weeks, no problem. And just take it out when you need it. I let it come up to room temperatures. Just take it out about in a half hour to an hour before you're going to use the oils. It kind of lets the oils come up to room temperature a little bit. Kind of like butter, same thing. They feel like butter a little bit too. Kind of like room temperature butter. Put your cardboard pallet and you get at least 2. Some guys are getting 5 or 6 or, lots of weeks. Yeah, you guys are saying that. Okay, sweet. I'll just scroll down. What else we got? Nero says it covers every aspect. Yeah. So what you have with Octoon Panzer, and I don't think I have any here, not at hand, but you have your book, and it'll be on the StuG III, and then inside it has all the technical drawings of. Here, hold on. That's right. I forget they're actually in the closet. Don't go anywhere. Octoon Panzer. That's just StuG. Let me see. Where's my StuG? Panzer 1, 2. I think Panzer 3 has a StuG in it. Oh, here we go. Okay. All right. So let me just show you. Let's take a second because I can sit up straight a little bit. Rest my back. So that's Stephen. I'll show you the actual scratch in a second, but you're going to use the bridge to make the scratch. So that's what you do. Let me pull this up a little bit here. All right. So this is what we're talking about. So good reference books are important. Let me put the towel back on my lap here. This protects my clothes. As you can see, it's a little apron. Okay, so Octoon Panzer. This is number 5 for the StuG III, 4, and the SIG 33. This is the book I used to build the model for. Where is the? Well, let me flip to this. It's a bigger book to use here. There we go. Okay, so in KINGART 4, I built this model from multiple kit bash models, but this is what I'm talking about, where you come in and you can see all these little details, and they hand draw these out for you, and then they give you English captions to tell you exactly what it was, and if there's a date with it, they'll tell you, or a variant, they'll tell you. So it's based on the StuG A and B. So I know certain parts come from this. Isn't if you're doing this style, you're going to pull them from the A and B kits, the kit bashing, or you have the E through the G model. So this is the later variation of the panels. This is how you determine the details on building models like this if you're going to do these sorts of things or details. Again, over here, it gives you, how the gun travel lock. This is an important detail feature. They changed it and how it changes as it opens and moves. So when you do this stuff, these drawings here tell you what the thing does when it actually it is kind of half technical manual. And then kind of half the story, but this is all kanji, so I can't read kanji. But it also has quite a few really nice wartime photos that correlate. So there's Tiger 1s, there's Panthers, there's Panzer 4s, there's 7 or 8 of these. They're $40 to $50 normally, sometimes $100 if some are hard to find if they're out of print. But if you're a German armor builder, you got to have the Octoon Panzer. If you're a serious one, you're probably going to need the Octoon Panzer series. But it tells you again, the layout of the shovels and the tool. This is all this stuff you see here, all super critical if you're taking it to, okay, well, how do you do that? Okay, like for example, this back here, the stowage bin back here, this guy right here, that's a factory, a field modified part. So what I'm doing over here to correlate, to connect all the dots together. So I'm in construction mode on the model using Octoon Panzer, the wiring of the headlights and all this kind of stuff. This is KINGART 4, which has this particular one, but all this detail stuff in here, I'm using the Octoon Panzer because it specifically tells me what the variant that I'm doing to make the scratch build those cases on the back. This is how you do that stuff, how this looks, the photo etch, what you need to do, the bolt details, stuff that's missing, you need to add. Books like this, like here, like this is this part there, how the actual antenna mount actually looks is all drawn in the Octoon Panzer books. So that's how you know that stuff. Like I mean, if you're looking to study that stuff, so you know, for German guys, because it's 50% of the market. I don't know if everybody is, but you know how the greats, they have museum shots. You know, again, you get some bonus. You know, grease. What does leaky grease look like? You get all the the weld details and everything up in here, the bolt details. So, yeah, good times, good stuff. This to me, I think as far as the correlating the between reference research and model building, when you find this kind of stuff and then you're able to do it to this kind of stuff, like that to me is kind of that's the funner part of this hobby. It doesn't matter your subject, because you do that with anime, you're still doing it with anime, and all that kind of stuff, and then you're bringing stuff over to Gunpla, you know, from Canon or whatever, manga, whatever you're doing. But in this case, for real stuff, that's how that ends up being done. So hopefully that kind of answers that question. It's a good break in the conversation to talk about how you get from point A to point B. Okay. All right, where were we? Let's use this guy. I prefer the not white ones. Okay, we'll come back down a little bit. Okay, so let's do the little. So I've got my little bridge here. My eyeballs on. Okay, to do a really nice horizontal streak with the bridge intact and all that kind of stuff here. So I've talked about in the past quite a bit, when you do all this work here, the chipping and scratches and all this kind of stuff, I've talked about it before in terms of the roadmap. And the reason I call it the roadmap is that when you get to the point of actually applying the weathering colors to this with the oil paints specifically, is all these little chips and scratches here, I don't need to worry about now, like where to put a scratch. I don't need to worry about where the chips are. It's already been done way before. That's the beauty of that process. So all I'm doing is coming in and just kind of like what you saw right here is just kind of making it a little dirty. That's why I call painting and chipping all one group of stuff. And then why weathering to me, in terms of teaching and discussing it, is it's just getting things dirty. In the simplistic form, it's just getting things greasy, grimy, dirty, distempered, faded, all that other extra stuff that you're going to do. You know, the greasy fingerprints, the scratches from the branches, the mud and dirt from the earth and all the snow and everything else. So that's where I delineate all this stuff into. And the reason is because of this particular, like stuff like this in particular. So I'm going to get down really close. I've got the bridge here underneath the camera. You can't quite see it, but I'm resting the brush on that. Actually, let me get a little bit closer here. So everything's kind of right in my eyeballs. Hold on one second. Gotta raise it up just a smidge. Okay. So if I want to do a really nice, precise, there's no oil. It would help if I had something on there. So I'm getting kind of the same brownish tone, just a smidge of burnt sienna, just a smidge of rust in there. Hold on one second, not quite the right angle. I need to come down on a little bit. There we go. Just trying to gently add in. Is it not transferring? All right, hold on, guys. It's so much talking. The oils are drying out. Let me reset the brush completely again. Hold on. Hold on. Technical difficulties. There we go. Okay. It wasn't flowing off said bristle. Okay, can you guys see that? Yep. Okay. Too far. I'm just putting a little extra sometimes when they skip across the surface, you get a little extra dip and chip. So that's the application. Then you can come in with the blender. Get these out of the way here. I can kick that back up a notch so you can see that. If it'll focus, come on, camera. There's a sweet spot there. That's a little better. Okay, so what we'll do now, get the blender reset. So again, I'm just kind of working the lower edge of this. Now I'm going to intensify some of the points. Probably intensify this up here, since there's already plenty of thinner on that. I'm focused, trying to do a really good job. See how I just kept working it? Being patient with that is going to be the most important element to this. I feel bad. I've been talking the whole stream. Let me get some work done. Yeah, but get any questions ready, guys, and I'll pop my head up here in a second. Just letting you see kind of like when I'm working, what I'm doing with the brushes and stuff. That was my arm on the table. I get a better focal, a little bit crisper, sharp. these little exposed ledges here oftentimes get pretty beat up from the boots. And see how what I did was I did kind of a lighter, kind of a rustier, lighter tone a little bit in there first. See how precise I just kind of stipple that out, kind of splays that back out a little bit. Excuse me. I'm hunched over pretty good here. My stomach is. So what I'm doing there is I kind of did kind of a diffuse stipple pattern of kind of like the end of this gets kind of kicked and bumped into a lot. It's like the corner of a desk or something down in there. And that's a popular spot where they're going to climb up and crawl around and stuff. So you're going to get a lot of paint damage through here. Same thing up in here too. You're going to get a lot of. See, I'm tapping the edge of that bristle on those chipped areas already. Same thing over here. I can do a little bit over here too. Same thing. See, I just jiggled. This is the blender now. Just kind of pulling some down a little bit to get it going. And the other thing is you don't need to streak everything, but just some like runoff a little bit, kind of implied streaks, if you will, is a big deal. And I'll get to you guys in 2 seconds. Just kind of adding a little bit of a, kind of like that crew wear and tear fingerprint mark area, stuff like that. This edge and joint up in here is going to be just a common. So in my application brush is fairly dry. See how there's almost no thinner at all. It's just a little bit of paint residual. Just a little bit of it's wetter than a dry brush. Same principle though. Just kind of using the edge of the bristles. Then I just do a quick blend, kind of a coffee shake blend. If you want a little bit more of a. And that's how I did all this up in there. I can even take, do I even have my colors? Yeah, I think I do. Okay, hold on. I'll show you some other color besides just dirt colors in a sec here. I'll do some blues and whatever. So I kind of push that back towards that gap in the plastic there in the model. Kind of jiggle that. Do you see how precise that is? Barely touching the surface. Just kind of, it's kind of a, I'll go slow. It's kind of a tap, stipple, jiggle, like a little dance. You can see how that kind of gives you that little diffuse, but kind of a gritty. And this will slope down a little bit too. So let me come back in here. I'll hair dry this real quick and we'll answer. And then you just check real quick. You're like, okay, I left a little spot right there. Wipe that back. This is why the oils are so nice to work with. And we can even go a little bit darker right up there. Just a little love tap right over that rust. See, that kind of darkens that little bit, just a smidge. Clean it up, tighten it up a little bit. You can hand pull some of that if you want, but. You see how you get different levels of the depth and strength. Let me catch up with you boys. Oh, got you, John. Thank you for that. So John's saying the freezer temps is the temperature issue prevents the paint from kicking off. Makes sense. Makes perfect sense. Can you show us how to, okay, we got that. Did that answer your question, Stephen Jones? I think we did a good job with that. I find I can't maintain sheen contrast as the oil's dry. What would you use to maintain a glossy sheen in selected spots? Okay, so what happens with this is the paints do dry matte because you're pulling the linseed oil out. a couple ways you can probably do that is maybe do just a smidge spot varnish, a little bit on top if you need some sort of even sheen. I have a little bit of that to do with the aircraft, and we'll actually talk about it in the cockpit of what to do with that a little bit, because you'll get a variety if it's not the variety you want. It works for military modeling quite well, so I don't really have that problem. But if there's other stuff for like Gunpla, we'll talk about that too in a second. The other thing you can do is my suggestion is, if you want one sheen over the surface, it's a real like a mist coat of a varnish, and then kind of locks everything in, and then you with a cloth or something is give a slight burnish, like a gentle burn. And I'll talk about that in future streams, but I can't show it to you on this one. But you're going to want to, like a piece of cloth or like a shirt or an old t-shirt, just kind of, if it's a leg or an arm or a shoulder, you're gonna do all your oil work, and that you can seal all that with a varnish, and you can come in and you'll find that if you burnish it, you'll get a more realistic look versus just leaving an airbrush varnish on top. So that'll kind of smooth it back out. It's a little bit like when you're car detailing and you're taking care of orange peel and resetting your surface on your car paint. It's the same kind of idea a little bit. That makes sense. 40 foot. What's up, brother? How are you? Howdy, y'all. Drury, Minneapolis in the house. Yeah, we got sun. Portland's getting some sunshine this afternoon. It's starting to brighten up in here. Kind of nice. Hopefully it does the same in Minnesota. What else we got? Simple, Understand, Precise, Perfect book. Yep, they're great books. I have them all kind of expensive. They are expensive, but they're, by the way, I mean, expensive for library stuff. You know, that's a one and done. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to build more than one of something like a Panther, StuG, Tiger, and that's why they're so specific. I mean, it's kind of that. You guys know that. You understand that. I mean, yeah, they're expensive up front, but I mean, that's, if I have a StuG project 5 times over, and each project is a $50 kit, $30 tracks, $20 worth of paint, tools, accessories, etc. You're looking, say, for example, it's a $100 project. That's a $50 book. If I do 5 of those, that's $500 worth of model building. I've got a $50 book as reference, so that those $500 worth of projects come out on the back end, that I'm doing them correctly. So I think there's the value in that comes from that part of it, and maintaining that consistency and quality level of precision. A lot of us like to rivet count this stuff, so it doesn't bother me. I take it to like a 90, like my personal take is 80-90% on, even when I go all out. I never go like full blown. I don't have the gumption for that. But I kind of take it 80-90% of everything needed. And I'm usually pretty happy with that, because I find with a good kit like a Tamiya kit or something like that, you can do quite a bit of stuff. I did my job, boys. So we zoom out. So this is what I look for in a model when I'm doing the weathering and stuff like that. If you have a bigger mark that's like that, where that streak is now a visual, like your eye keeps coming back to that. Okay, so you don't want it to dominate it. You don't want it to be out of scale too big. But what you want to see is when you zoom in and get close to it, I've got a lot of other fun little stuff going on with it and kind of reinforcing what's happening. And I don't think I blended the rest of it. That happens too. Sometimes you'll put something down and you'll forget it. That's okay. There's chamfered edges all over this, which makes for a lot of fun weathering. And this brush is almost dry, so now the little scratchies. So this is kind of skipping across the paint surface. There's just a residual oils coming off. So you get a little much, and then you kind of switch to the blender. See, I just quickly jiggle the tip into through that, just to kind of spread it around a little bit more. So now I've added I've kind of enhanced the discoloration up there. So it's happening. It's on like Donkey Kong. Chris, how are you? How is Lufram doing? They'll never lose their value. Yeah, absolutely. And the same, I've got the aircraft equivalents too for the Spitz, Hellcats, Corsairs. The Japanese produce, I forget the name of the series that they do for the aircraft side. The same publisher though. Yeah. But this is also something that I would recommend. Like I said, if for example, like this is a subject, I love StuGs. That's one of my favorite tanks. So it's an investment that pays off, because I've done, and it covers all of them. So you've got all the different versions in one title. It's not like you need a 3, a B, a G, and a F book or whatever. So that's good. Same with Panthers and Tigers. And there are the Sherman versions, like the Honeycutt books, provide a similar thing, or the older modeling guides that were done by some of, like, I think Ampersand Publishing. Some of those books are worth their weight because they do provide that. Like my Tiger book was done from the Ampersands Modeling Guide. So those books, even at 30, 40, 50 bucks, you know, if you're going to do more than one of one model, you know, and I think there's, you know, whatever it is, I find that if you're looking for that, you know, obviously if you're just having a good time, don't waste your time. They're cheaper. In fact, to that conversation, if you're on a budget and you can't afford an Octoon Panzer, honestly, the next best stuff is the old Squadron books, the Squadron in action books and the Squadron walk around guides. Honestly, for 10 bucks or 15 bucks or 20 bucks that those books are at, they do 75% of the same job that the Octoon Panzer did. Not quite to the same level, but you can get really far studying a Squadron book and the older stuff, by the way. So they get, I don't think they get enough love. The Squadron books were my foundation material when I was younger, and then I moved into an Octoon Panzer. So that would be the other way. Yeah, issue to an old school modeler. Christian says, indeed. Okay, so there is a bullet deflector. Makes sense because it prevents it from getting in that little, that important, it's a weak point of the model. So that makes sense. No, I know what you, thank you, Forrest. You're talking, okay, so in stuff like a varnish like that, like what you're talking about, those are like when you hear me say, like when you need to use it for something, like that's the kind of things like it comes up for that. That's where it becomes to me like a useful thing. Now you run a risk because anytime you're spraying a varnish over a lot of that stuff, you're going to kill the sheen. That's exactly what happens. But in your case, what you're talking about, what I'm guessing is Gunpla, is you kind of want to manipulate it a certain way. Now I get around that by, if this is a subject matter in terms of like, for example, you want something a little bit more polished, sheeny, civilian, Gunpla, aircrafty, smoother, sheeny, there's a different conversation. But with a lot of things, what you see me doing is my paint job's already so smooth that there's really, it's a subtle thing. There's a subtle difference between some of that stuff. And then what happens is the bristle motions and stuff like that, you can kind of see the glint. There's a hint of sheen coming back from the burnishing from the bristles. So I go kind of a little bit different with that approach. So it could be a refinement conversation as well for us of bringing some stuff down. Could be part of what I talked about earlier is maybe you're applying too much almost sometimes. It depends a little bit. But, you know, if, you know, Carol, how are you? Long time no see. Yes, long time no see. How are you been? Got to run, boys. Catch you later, John. Thank you for your input, Jonathan. I appreciate it. You're always welcome, my friend. But yeah, so that's kind of what we're doing with that. Got a little bit of where we at. Yeah, we're doing okay. We can go for a little bit longer. Keep weathering this panel here. Let me show you some color weathering. Okay, so I need one more color brush by camo color weathering. This one's, okay, so I've basically been working in light dirt tones and darker earth tones and rust tones and stuff right now. That's all I've really done. Getting a real big, I don't know why that looks so pink on whatever. But anyway, the sun is full blown now, so hold on. We gotta bring that down. Okay. Yeah, I'm getting I think a reflection off the yellows coming back into the model. See how that looks kind of pink to me. Just making sure I'm not losing my eyesight. Okay. So I've got another brush here. All right, let me mix some kind of like a grayish, bluish Panzer gray color here. Hold on. I can show you. Sorry. So I'm up over in here. I've got my blues and my grays. So then I'll use the paper towel to kind of see what I'm doing. And it's a similar tone. Because not everything you apply up here is going to be like a dirt shade or anything. Just getting some down real gentle. Again, you see how dry that is? There's almost no thinner going down. I don't want diffuse bleed everywhere. I just want to, what I'm kind of doing is kind of pulling back some of the Panzer gray a little bit. And here, let's switch to, where's my other doodad? You know, let's bring in my money guy. So reset, the bristle's been dried out because I haven't used them yet. Looks like I got a broken track down there. All right, I gotta fix that. Okay, so just a little stipple action. I'm just gently tapping that. This is just kind of reinforcing the Panzer gray a little bit. Probably set that down a little. The angle's a little bit. I'd usually spin this around. That's why I use that Lazy Susan. So I'm wanting almost a dry blend. I'm avoiding adding any actual thinner, even though I'm cleaning the bristle up. I'm drying it back down to where it was. So I just kind of pulled that around a little bit. Remember, there was a little bit of that dust in there earlier. So you can see this is kind of, I'm looking at this up in here, and so over here it kind of gives me that similar kind of a dirty, you know, like when you have like a pure color, then you get kind of the hand grease and stuff, and it kind of changes the tone of the colors. That's kind of what I'm going for right here. You can see just I've got a blender that has almost no thinner on it, and just kind of a dry stipple blend, just barely touching that paint in there. Same over here, and even right over the previous work I had done, whatever the dirt work, it kind of ties it together a little bit. To kind of work awkwardly here. So I'm just kind of jiggling the, see how just a touch of that bristles in there. So what you'll find in a lot of techniques, even going into chipping and stuff like that, they should all work pretty easy. Like that's almost no physical effort. Like you shouldn't have to like manhandle the brushes or anything to really get it to do what you want it to do. And that's a point of emphasis with the chipping, with stuff like this. You can just see the bristles. Like I'm doing this real slow. It's the slightest pressure, absolutely the slightest pressure. Think of it as like tickling somebody with a feather, like just the slightest pressure. And it should work really smooth like this because you've got the oils kind of blended in with a little thinner, so it should be workable. That's the point of the palette and everything else, and why we do what we do with all that. But you can see how quickly it starts to emphasize. So I can take that up. So this hatch here will have the same similar, all this over here will have the same kind of worn Panzer gray, you know, exposed Panzer gray, if you will. See how dry that is? It almost doesn't want to come off the brush, which is, I want that resistance a little bit. Kind of skipping that across. Oh, wait, hold on. Sorry, phone call. So when the phone rings and I'm on the app, it cuts it out. I apologize. I'm just kind of, because this is so dry, I get kind of this gritty transfer, which is what I want. You're gonna need a little wetter, a little smidge of thinner. Use the paper towel, unload that thinner back out. And see how it transfers totally different now because it's a little bit too wet. So I got to unload again on the paper towel, get more of that thinner out there. And don't worry about it. We can fix all that too. There it goes. Now it's back to kind of that dryish state. So now I take my blender brush here. So I just work that color back towards the gap. And see how nothing's bleeding off, nothing's washing away. That's all in control from the thinner, or the lack of, because I'm using the paper towel as my volume to pull it out so that's not so wet. It's just enough. It's just, Jesus Christ, people. What the fuck? Leave me alone. So Sharpen that up a little bit. So what you get is you get slight textures in the paint. And that's what I'm kind of trying to use that to my advantage to help diffuse all this stuff. And it's not really like a hard chip, but it's just kind of in a situation with the whitewash where you get that kind of, it works its way back off a little bit. And it probably looks a little bit more gray, on more blackish gray. It's got a hint of bluishness to my eyes when I'm, so now I'm just kind of pulling that out a little bit further. And then what you can do is, I think it was this one. Let me get a little bit more of a kind of a tan brown in there too, a little bit of a dirt in there. Kind of mix that in now. And that'll kind of see how I got a little bit of that colorway in here, where there's a little, just a hint of like a brown colorway in there too, just a little bit. It's kind of a dirt steel a little bit. Just take that tip. There's already thinner in there. Just trying to. And I'm avoiding kind of a cliche of that slope. This slopes down like that, so I'm not trying to streak everything. It's really common on models like this where guys will start to do that, but you'll find you don't need to do all that a lot. A couple little streaks here and there are fine, but you don't need to do a lot of any kind of streaking. And come back over here to this guy. Sure. The only challenge of being on camera and stuff is you gotta, you're trying to. I don't want to touch the screen. Get off of there. There it goes. Apparently, I got a voicemail now. Called me twice, but it's an 855 number, so I don't know what that is. Probably scam. Get your car warranty. They've used up all the 800 and 900 numbers. They're now using 8. It's all that. So I'm just trying to dirty that edge back up a little bit. Excuse me. So when you got a really short little ledge like this, you kind of do just some real gentle little streaks. And I actually use when I check the camera, because of the way the you can kind of see the details a little better sometimes. Just pull that up into there. I can kind of. A little bit heavy-handed, a little bit wet and juicy. So now I'm pulling up I'm going bottom to upward there on that one. So I pulled the streaks up on that case because that's where I had the color from. And that's just because of the nature of this joint. So I'm just trying to work the paint along the joint path. And I'll pop up and answer some questions here in a second. So I'm going to squeeze that streak in. See how I pushed it to the right? Then I'll come in from the other side. See how I thin that down? Its width. So now it's much more in scale. I'm just kind of jiggling and pushing it back down towards that edge. Get a little bit of that thin. It's a little wet, so pull some of that thinner out. So kind of like upside down streaks a little bit. So I'm just trying to gently weather the whitewash, just a little bit of wear and tear and a little bit of discoloration in there. I'm not trying to overwhelm it because you can quickly kind of overpower the things that can happen on this dude. What I missed? Question: what's your way of painting the tarp on? Oh, we'll get to that, Bryce. I'll do tarp painting pretty soon. Hey, what's up, TJ? You got to go, KX. Okay, you got it. Doing better today, I see. Hello, Neo. How are you, bro? Yeah, we're a little bit better. You scroll back to the beginning, Neo. You'll see a bunch of better news at least. The reading is basic spall protection, hopefully effective at deflecting, reduce the funneling effect of armor. Yeah, that makes sense, Christian. Yeah, just reading your other second reply. Eric's turning in. Okay, man, have a good night. Darren Tour, how are you, man? Bloody nice work. Oh, I appreciate that. So to repeat the process from the very beginning again, let's do some little around the hinges here. We'll probably wrap up after that. We'll just kind of we'll call it a little bit earlier. Just because I have lots to do. Okay, so I'm going to go a little bit lighter around the hinges. Just be real specific. Just getting some color down. It's a little bit sloppy, but not terrible. Take the blender, switch to the blender. Kind of reset the tip, wipe it clean again. So it's pretty ready to go. Just kind of coming in here and I'm just kind of working the color around, using the shapes, going up to the edge of the panel gap there, the hatch. So I'll leave some residual around the hinge detail. So that gives me my pin wash automatically. Kind of carry that up in there and then kind of tap stipple to blend that through the next colorway. Got a little bit more condensed color down here underneath, and then we can probably clean this up a little bit here. Okay. And then let me take, oops, I used the wrong brush. Let me unload that a little bit. Hold on. Okay, you consume my paper towel, my friend. I need my paper towel back. Okay. Reset that. Okay. Okay. So I'm just unloading, getting a little bit of a darker tone of this now. Darker brown, kind of dirt color. Not much, but you know the hinge is going to leak a little bit of dirt and grime and grease and collective nature of stuff, of stuffage. But I don't want to overwhelm it. At the same time, I don't want to go so dark with my pin wash. You know, plus I've got examples of what I did prior to, which I was happy with. So I'm looking at that to finish these guys. So now I'm just kind of layering up a little bit darker. Whoops, a little much. If it gets a little much like that, just come back in, blend it right away. Just again, no big deal. Just kind of drawing a second dark line above the tan line there. The dirt line below. Probably come back in and somewhat awkward angles. Just gently pulling that into that lighter color below. Just diffusing kind of the around that and just kind of shaping a little bit more. It's a little bit wet with thinner. So now you just reset the surface with the hairdryer. So it's nice having the tracks on. I can kind of grab it a little bit. And I'm just kind of finalizing it against the edge of the hatch right up in there. And what I can do is I can rotate this because so I can kind of get this up in here. Just working with kind of how much, see it's a little bit on the wet translucent side. So what I'm doing is kind of stippling in, just kind of doing a gentle transfer of that kind of grease and grime that's in there. There's a little bit of a step ledge in there, and then I can. Got a little bit more color around there. But by not applying too much thinner, by keeping the thinner in control, it keeps everything from turning into a washing, muddy mess of blended colors. So that's how you control all this stuff when you're doing layered tones. You get some streaking going up. Not much. Just want a little bit. So you can see how wet that is. That's meaning it's not very wet at all. Like nothing's running off or anything. Dry it again. See how quick that dries up. So that gives you kind of the still slightly wet in there, still workable. Then what you can do is go the other way. Let me get another brush. Hold on here, 2 seconds. Oops. So like I said, usually I'm on the lazy Susan that can spin this around. I don't really touch it, but I'm trying to move it for the camera. It's just a specific to streaming. Okay, final color here. Let's go back and let's add some camo, some white. So this is a little bit of fresh, and that's what you saw back over here. I did that all up in here and all that kind of stuff. Same idea, same process, same almost dry application. I get just enough thinner on that brush to transfer the paint. Oh, you're seeing the glare. Hold on, that's how much. You're just seeing the thinner. And this just adds a little bit more of that natural kind of hand-painted, whitewash distempered paint. Look back into, oops, focus. Come on, there it goes. See how you get just that little, you get these little like white pops right in here, and a little bit down in here, kind of blending up. So that's how I'd handle that. All right. Yeah, this is I think personally I'm happy with it. Looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy. So then you can come back in with some more. Make sure my hands are going. This is kind of layered mapping a little bit. So I'm just kind of going around the shapes that are there a little bit. Just kind of jiggling it back. There's a little bit of a weld in there. There's a weld bead. So just kind of same idea with how I weather all the dust, and just kind of, you put the tip in the edge of that and you kind of just push it around a little bit, push it back into the corner or to the edge of wherever it's backed up to or lined up against. So this is the second layer now, basically what I've done. So that builds up the opacity in certain sections where I just got a little bit extra bump in the white right there, a little bit of love. Same thing with this, same, just kind of coffee shake jiggle. Now I'm holding my really steady, so just kind of getting just a little bit. Just letting the bristles with the thinner do the work. And that's because the paint's so translucent, it's so thin. The base coat acrylic painting is so smooth and nicely done, but it's got the matte bite and tooth to it that allows you to kind of, this all works together. It's all harmonious. It is intended to be a harmonious endeavor. That's what I'm out for. That'll be the name of my boat, the Harmonious Endeavor. All right, guys. Final question is we talk for a few minutes and then close up the stream there. I think that's a good, nice amount of weathering towards where this was. There's only just a small little portion left for me to handle. I'll do that and wrap it up soon. Since most of you are probably Chris G caught it this time. Nice. Just doing some OPR right now. Nice. There you go. Zal, hello, brother. Long time. Hope it's how you feeling, Zal? Are you post COVID issue? You're all better? You feeling better? You healed up? One of the most helpful streams for me, Mike, with so many things. You're welcome, Steve Jones. Yeah. I be an expert. That's why you're paying me the big bucks. Yeah, no, I wanted, after what I've been through for the last couple of weeks with shipping and all the kind of the business headaches, I needed a stream that I could kind of reset my brain with, and I can fall back on this. And I realized that, and that was intentional. So maybe I could have pushed with the aircraft, but it's, there's still a lot to do with the cockpit and getting that thing set up and done and positioned and all that stuff. Yeah, I'll leave that on there. That came up pretty good. Yeah, so you've got the little scratches and worn areas you can see here. I'll just recap real quick. You can see how quickly I was able to add some stuff into here. I got the, most of this done. I'll have to maneuver the model and get, the nooks and the parts that are hard to reach. But you can see how I was able to add some kind of, edge wear and tear. Some of this is, maybe a little bit on the rustier side. But what I can do is, say, for example, where this guy goes. I'll do a quick little extra just to kind of illustrate a thought. So say here, you did all this and you're like, well, maybe that's a little rusty. Maybe that's a little too orangey rusty. So come back in with your whitewash. Oh, I got the spot up here too. Sorry. I did mention that. Just add a little bit more of the white back on top. And you can keep building that back up too if you have to. Because see how that killed it a little bit? Build up some opacity right up in here. It's kind of a little bit of a mapping idea. And I didn't really do anything in here, so I've got opportunity to come in, and I'm working right up to the lower edge of that scratch. I'm moving a little quickly here, but just kind of stipple tapping that right into that rustier. So see how that knocked that rust tone back down a little bit? And it's because of the translucency of the oils and how this is why I find them so powerful. To do this with other paint in this manner it's way more of a challenge. You have to do a lot more physical work to get it to do this kind of stuff. So that's another pitch for OPR and why I do what I do. Because this is what I would try to do with all the enamel washes. Well, like, you know, when you get into this point, well, how do I do that? What am I doing this with? And that's why oils became the more I did it, more I tried, you start leaning on oil paint and kept going. I'm like, oh, that's the magic solution, was the oils, were the oils, are the oils. That's one of the reasons I kind of pursued that. I'm just cleaning my brushes up right now, getting some paint out. You're welcome, Matt58. COVID, as Al said, the entire family got COVID. Everyone's in their trenches. Oh, was that all from the same incident, Al, or was it just relatable to just Singapore's having a problem or just an outbreak of stuff? You're feeling better than ever. Yeah. Okie doke. It's actually good to hear. I hope you're doing well, Sal. Okay. Yeah. Yep, that turned out pretty good. Doing a pretty good job. Doing a pretty good job. I need to tune this up a little bit though, right here. The shape of it's just a little off for me. I just have to kind of I'm diffusing it a little bit with thinner, getting to kind of that's a little better. Yeah, and this is the main hatch too. Those will be kind of open and more. And so what I'll do eventually, we'll show some of it. I won't show all the pieces, but I will probably come back in with a little bit of a graphite pencil. What I'll do in the future, come on. As soon as I need to find one, I can't find one. Oh, here we go. Duh, it's right there. So what I will do in the final go around is just, you know, and I don't know if you can even, I don't know if I can, yeah. So let me just, then what I'll do is I'll just, get that. There we go. So just a hint of graphite. So if I want a metallic, you know, in particular, this dude here. You know, these kind of things. Not too much. Don't overdo it. Don't go everything, but just, you want to just give a little kick of a metallic highlight. And that turns a lot of this into like steel and wood and, you know, keeping the wood dead flat and all that kind of stuff. Just by down the road. Okay. Okay, I got you. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think the general consensus is globally moving from pandemic to endemic to where it's just kind of cold and flu season. That seems to be the path forward for everybody, which makes sense. You know, maybe an annual like flu shot, annual booster shot, kind of sounds like feels like that's where we're all headed with this. And no, in at least locally here, Oregon's had a pretty strict indoor, you know, if you go to a restaurant or school, you got to wear a mask, and they're starting to loosen that up. So it seems like maybe this will be all right. What else have we got? Any questions? This turned out pretty good. I think this one all went pretty smooth. Got some good brush work and just kind of detail work and application work and how to maneuver colors and how to maneuver light colors and dark colors and how to do it without making things muddy. That's the stuff to study. Study that, you know, watch the tip of the bristle of the brush and how I'm using it and how gentle and just kind of like what I'm doing with it and you know, kind of look at those things when you're doing it. Thank you, Nog. I appreciate that. But yeah, so looks like my pin. I missed the hole. Nobody wants to hear. Nobody wants to hear that. Yeah, I missed the last little thingy. So that's split right there. I got to fix that. So I got to pull that pin back, push the tracks together and then feed it through again. That's what looks like I missed. It's a tough one to do because the model's upside down and you're trying to, you know, when the model's upside down and you're trying to join that dude, it is a little tough sometimes, and you're trying not to F it up. Got to be careful. It's one of those oh shit parts. Dave Lacombe says, try to do this type of weather with wet blending acrylics without much success. Too many variables and no control. Yep. It is. So what I've talked about, or what I like to talk about in that specific case, Dave, is it's control and precision. Is everything you do, you know, it happens through, and it doesn't matter the liquid too much. It does in terms of blendability and what an oil blends versus an acrylic. But in terms of what we're doing, control and precision brushes, and you're always in control, like how I brace my hands, how I use the paper towel to unload the paint so that it's a preset quantity going on the model. All of that are important factors to what you saw here today. So you should be able to rewind that hour meat of the video and really the stream and really hone in on all of that right there. Because you can see, even I wasn't yapping, you can get pretty far in an hour's time, you know, 45 minutes to, and I just need little bits here and there and kind of tie it in. So yeah, but you can see how now the hatch, I can kind of work through. I've got a little asymmetry between the two sides, you know, commander side, this one's probably open the most, that one's probably a little bit less, whatever it is. So I've got a little bit of kind of playing up all the, because that becomes like on an aircraft, it becomes quilt. It has that quilt look really quick with the whitewash. You have to be kind of, I'm trying to balance that all out, if you will, and maintain kind of nice whitewash coverage, which is why putting the whitewash back on top at the final steps gets a really nice look to it, where you get that, see how I get that pop of white right back there? Like, I love that right there. I think that's that top of that ledge. They're going to pull up and walk on that, stand on it, sit on it. This is like their little seat, the little edge. That's like the lunch table. 2FS, really enjoyed the stream, Mike. Thank you. You're welcome, Bryn. How are you? Later, Mike. Another great stream. Thanks again. You're welcome, Forrest. Hopefully that helped you earlier with that one question, Forrest. Getting a booster shot tomorrow. Okay, nice. Yeah, I noticed when I got my booster shot, I've the healthiest I've actually been. I've not felt sick at all for anything other than just sick of work stuff. Sick of you guys. Tired of your mug. What else we got? 2:40. Yeah, we're good. Any final questions? You got a few more minutes. That's anything else? Anybody else got anything else? Because I'm gonna wrap it up and go eat some food because I'm starving. Yeah, we'll talk, Bryce, again. We'll talk about tarp painting for sure. Yeah. And again, thank you everybody for your patience with RSP problems. I do appreciate that. Again, the Patreon, we've added the coaching tier today. So there's some, I haven't paid attention, but I know 4 of them went really quick. There's 12 a month. So they'll probably be taken up fast if that's something you're interested in. I'm excited for that. It'll be fun. And like a lot of stuff, the first couple ones may not be the smoothest, but you know, I'll work with everybody and be very, very flexible in terms of getting everything done. And then what else? And I'll put the 3rd tier up probably tonight or tomorrow. I've got to do a couple quick business things today, get that handled. And then, what I meant to say regarding Patreon. So what I'm going to do is, I meant to talk about this. You've got the basic how-to videos on Patreon with the black banner. It's all the how-to series. There's like 20 plus of them, and they'll continue on. Those are just the general videos of me doing stuff. I've started a second level of videos on Patreon called the Technique series, which are just like 20-30 minute videos on specific topics. Like the first one was brushwork, kind of what you saw me talking about today with the brushes and how to load them and how to unload them, real specific. Just a video on that. And then like the second video was just on color theory, using, you know, selecting paint colors and what that means and how to do it. Real specific, 20-30 minutes, just contained for that. Technique series will be just for the middle level tiers and above. So the lower level tier coming in, you'll get the basic videos and the daily stuff. And then the middle tier will get the technique series and plus some other more specific love for them for rewards and stuff like that. So that's how I'm going to split those two up. And then eventually, probably once everything's a little bit smoother for RSP, I'll bring back the E100 and we'll do an actual Patreon stream project just for Patreon dudes. And then the coaching guys are coaching guys. That's for you guys. That's for one-to-one to get you guys to do this kind of stuff. But yeah, so there you go. That's what's going on with that. Links in the description below. The brush affiliate link if you guys need KINGART brushes. They're base level oil paints, which are great. You know, it's all these colors here, the main colors. The only colors they don't have are the earth tones. So that's the only real negative. But I'm working with them to get that too. But there's also the hobby guys. They have all the hobby colors are available too. So you can always go to AK or 502 or whatever they are, ammo, whatever it is. Yeah, so we've got that going. What else? Thank you guys for seeing some old names that come back through. Appreciate that. Next week will be episode 50. So I'm gonna maybe by Monday or Tuesday I'll put some promos up and I have to do a couple little. I think I'm gonna do something special for it. Haven't decided yet, but I'll figure that out for episode 50. We'll do kind of a recap, YouTube of the streams and the project. We'll look at everything. We'll give it a grade, A, B, or C. You know, did you get an A on that one? I don't know. That's like a B minus. Ronaldo did C plus on that one. What else? Everybody good? Other than that, I'm gonna sign off and go do some stuff and eat some food. Yeah, episode 50. Yeah, so we're already at 50, and we're at 27 videos on Patreon. So that's and those are going a little faster, so they're catching up. So we'll be at 30 videos pretty soon. And then the technique series for Patreon, I'm doing once a week, or trying to maintain once a week on that, and maybe 2 videos a week on Patreon, plus the regular posts on top of it. So I've kind of been sharing some old work, like 10-year-old, 15-year-old work on Patreon, which is kind of cool. Guys like that. So yeah, so there you go. That's where we're at. That's the latest, greatest. Thank you, everybody. Anybody else? Anything going on? All right, I'm going to sign off a little bit early, a few minutes early. Thank you all for hanging out. I hope this was helpful and you got some good stuff out of this, and we'll continue on. So we'll see you next week.